to uplift my race was to return to Africa and help build it and make it great. I got that from Marcus Garvey.
When the Bible says, send my sons from far and my daughters from the ends of the earth, there is already a calling for us to come home. Marcus Garvey fits in that, as he is that one who was motivated as a black liberator to rise up the black people's spirit of being down under oppression, telling them about self-worth, because at that time you would be nothing. You would have to stand at the back of the bus. You would have you know, coming out of slavery.
My name is Danny Tukes, Foundational Black American, FBA, meaning that my ancestors was born in America. They have been in America since the beginning. I was born in 1959. When I was born, we were called Negroes. How does it feel to be called a Negro? This is what they called us. In Spanish, it means black in Spanish.
Well, for me personally, when I hear that word, it's not something I like. However, my mentor, I call her my big mama, Mama Yvonne in Chicago, she used to say to me, when we were Negroes, we were really something, right?
We regard him as a prophet because at some point, before His Majesty was crowned in the coronation, he prophesied and he said, look to the east in Africa, for there shall be crowned a black king, and the black people shall look to him for the redemption. Now, you had a man called Leonard Howard who was reading the Bible at the time, and some of them classed him as the first Rastaman. When he heard this now, and His Majesty was coronated, he kind of put Revelation 5:2, correlated it to His Majesty. To us, he was part of the movement, or the founding movement of Rastafari also.
I think Garvey is a legend because he is still relevant today in 2025, although he was around 100 years ago. And also, I have to mention the red, black, and green flag, which is 100 years old. And you know that you matter and that your work is relevant when you're gone and you become an ancestor, and 100 years later, there's still manifestation of the work that you've done. So his name lives on, his legacy lives on, and long live the Right Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey.
And I really admire Burning Spear because that is what he does. And he has many albums that talks about Marcus Garvey. And then, you know, Bob Marley in one of his songs said they sold Marcus Garvey for rice. Okay, rice that you eat. You know, just for a little bit of money, they sold and gave Marcus Garvey away. And then the red, black, and green flag, red, black, and gold, and green, still posts it, rally around the flag, rally around the flag. And when Africa would unite and come together under one government, I was told by my ancestors that that flag would have the gold in it now.
Once, Dr. Julius Garvey said, Marcus Garvey, my beloved father, had a unique African mindset and was deeply connected to his heritage. For him, Africa represented the ultimate standard for philosophy, religion, and beauty. Although he never visited Africa, he understood it was his mission to recreate African civilization, regardless of the consequences.
Somebody asked me one time, what you learn about Marcus in school? I said, in school, they teach me nothing about Marcus in school. Nothing.
Even in Jamaica?
In Jamaica school I'm talking, nothing about Marcus. So I didn't learn about Marcus till I left school.
As someone who lives in Jamaica and children they know nothing else. Quite clear to me that the concept of self-determination, the fact that he was a great organizer, the way he did with health, all the things that he did, if the children knew this, they would aspire to be more.
ማርከስ ጋርቬ በሰራው ስራ ልክ ቦታ ተሰጥቶታል ብዬ አላስብም። ምክንያቱም ቦታ ቢሰጠው ኖሮ ልክ እንደ ሌሎች ሊደሮች የሂስትሪ መጽሐፎቻችን ውስጥ ይገባ ነበር ወይም ደግሞ እንማረው ነበር እናቀው ነበር።
We as Africans, we as black people, we as African Americans, we have to write our own story. We have to write our own history. Because a lot of us have heard the phrase, until the lion writes his own story, then the story will be written in the point of view of the hunter.
This is the answer to your question, what is stopping us? We don't have a political entity that has a mandate from the people and the political will to enforce its laws and decisions.
It's been very intentional to keep Africans and African descendants divided. It's a strategy that you divide and conquer. Once you can keep people from unifying, it's easier to take over.
We are suffering from false propaganda. How can we, as a black people, unite 6 million again? Easy, through propaganda. That's the answer, bro. Chapter 16, propaganda. Marcus Garvey has a whole lesson about it. Propaganda means to propagate or to make known extensively some particular phase of human intelligence. The desire is to convert or influence the people, to the acceptance of the truth of that particular intelligence that is sought to be spread amongst them.
Marcus Garvey, to me as an African, I would call him the father of Pan-Africanism. Exactly. Yeah. He rose out of an island to fight for a black man worldwide who was taken out of the continent.
The AU is kind of rolling off of his idea, Africa for the Africans at home and abroad. So the Pan-African movement rolled off of his idea.
Message to the people, the creed of goodness. To pass the time in doing good, to count the evils we put down, to have our deeds so understood is nobler than to wear a crown. To bless the people as we go, to scatter seeds that grow to life, to strike all sin a deadly blow is better than to stir up strife. For this of all is greater fame that none on earth can ne'er destroy. Marcus Garvey.
Thank you for that powerful preview of the new documentary of the Honorable Marcus Garvey. So we're fortunate to have with us today. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Yazenga, who is the producer of the film, and he would like to say a few words. So the floor is yours, and I'm going to try and spotlight you. There you go.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. It's an honor to share this piece of art, piece of work. As you can see, as a filmmaker, my task is not to talk, to show. So I tried my best to show what is needed to be shown. I just want everyone to know that it was not really an easy task for an Ethiopian filmmaker who knows and loves his story, specifically His Majesty's story. The journey was not really easy, but it would have been much more easier, as you can hear from the film. What is missing is just the right propaganda. So I have been really challenged from my fellow sisters and brothers, specifically from the Rastafarian community, from those Jamaicans, to tell me how dare I am telling a story about Marcus Garvey. Come on, people. Who am I going to tell a story if I'm not telling a story about Marcus Garvey? It's not for us to say this and that. It's not. I don't believe that whatever happens between His Majesty and Marcus Mosiah Garvey is not our business. It's not supposed to be our business. These two giants have fought their fight, and they push the fight to the level where it is now. Our task, our idea has to be, where are we going to take this task from here? That is what is needed to be discussed. My fellow sisters and brothers, it has been 6 years since I have been studying and trying to put this piece. The financial problem was not really that challenging. It is the biggest challenge, but when you see the challenge that I am facing every day for trying to put this documentary together so that we have the right propaganda to focus on what is the priority, that is the biggest challenge I am facing. So for you all, I am very happy for all of you to take this time to be able to watch this little piece. This is just the beginning. I would say that it will not even represent 5 to 10 minutes of the documentary that I have tried to put together. I wish next year, this time, I will premiere the whole documentary, and this time next year, we will screen the film all over the world at this time. I mean, it will be official next year this time. Everyone will have access to see this beautiful story from an Ethiopian perspective. Thank you very much for your time and consideration. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. We wish you all of the success in completing the documentary, and we have your back and your support if you need us. So thank you for setting such a powerful tone for our dialogue for today's meeting. And I'm going to now introduce you to our keynote speaker, which you saw in the film. Comrade Safiwe Baleka, and he is just returning from his second trip to Burkina Faso, and this time he was there with the RBG plus 126 delegation, and so we're excited to hear his report. And Comrade Safiwe is a leader in the Reparations, Pan-African, and lineage restoration movements. He has represented New African and Afro-descendant peoples at the United Nations, at the African Union, and other international forums. He's always advocating for self-determination and the right of return to our ancestral homelands. So among his many achievements, he has successfully guided the Balenta people who were once enslaved in the Americas back to Guinea-Bissau, where he now resides and where they all hold citizenship. So please join me in welcoming Comrade Safiwe Baleka. And I'm going to ping you to the screen.
Amasa Ganalu, Abene, Obrigado, thank you. Salamta, Sawubona, and Sumba. Greetings to all my comrades, family, friends. Let me start by acknowledging the unity of our ancestors, all of us who are here present, and the unborn. Because in our African tradition, there is a unity between the three, past, present, and future. Ancestors, those of us that are living on earth now, and the unborn. And I hope that the overriding theme today will be unity. I know I was asked to give a keynote address. I'm just going to talk to everyone. And that's going to be the underlying theme. The need is unity and the solution is unity. And we're going to talk about that in the context of what was actually my third mission to Burkina Faso since May 2024. So I've been there 3 times. Before I get into this most recent visit, given that we are on the eve of the 138th Earth Light of the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, I'd like to read some words of Marcus Garvey that were, it's a collection of words that were spoken in and around 1924. Marcus Garvey said, "Let the Negro couple the urge for money with nationalism, so that in another 100 years, that's now, he will have a formidable and well-established nation to protect him anywhere he happened to find himself with his wealth." Let me stop there and ask the question, do we have such a nation yet? Isn't this what our hopes and aspirations for Burkina Faso and the Alliance of Sahel States is all about? That it will blossom into a united African states that is so powerful that it can protect all African people everywhere on the planet, on the globe? This is what Garvey was saying. He said that in 1924, 100 years ago. That's 2025 now. We're still in the process of building that nation. Garvey continues, he says, "There is no better place than Africa, his original home. The Negroes of the world should concentrate on making money and using part of it for the helping to establish an independent nationalism in Africa. The thoughtful and industrious of our race want to go back to Africa because we realize it will be our only hope of permanent existence. We cannot all go in a day or in a year, 10 or 20 years. It will take time under the rule of modern economics to entirely or largely depopulate a country of a people who have been its residents for centuries. But we feel that with proper help for 50 years, the problem can be solved." Let me stop there. 50 years from 1924 is 1974. And yet, the vast majority of us, almost 250 million of us, right, are still living in the land of our captivities. Not all of us are going to go back to Africa, but we have to ask the question, if Marcus Garvey said, it'll take about 50 years, and now we're 74, we're 100 years, the continent has not granted us, recognized our right to return and our citizenship. Some countries are. Burkina Faso is in the process. But out of the 54 nations on the African continent that are members of the African Union, it's only a small handful that are just beginning to recognize our right to return. So we're late. The hour is late, which is why we have to come together, why unity is the theme, is the focus, is the priority, is the solution. Let me continue a little bit more with Garvey's words. Garvey says, "Men, there is much to live for, and there is much to die for. The man, the race of nation that is not prepared to risk life itself for the possession of an ideal shall lose that ideal. If you, I repeat, must be free, you yourselves must strike the blow. Any sane man, race, or nation that desires freedom must first of all think in terms of blood. Why even the Heavenly Father tells us that without the shedding of blood, there can be no remission of sins. Then how in the name of God, with history before us, do we expect to redeem Africa without preparing ourselves, some of us, to die? Leadership means everything: pain, blood, death. Let Africa be our guiding star, our star of destiny. Those are the words of the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. We are on the eve of his 138th Earthlight. I thought those words were appropriate because when we get right down to it, this is what we admire about President Ibrahim Traoré. He is striking the blow, and he is not afraid of death. He is taking a fearless stand against the imperialists that are daily trying to assassinate him, trying to destabilize and take control of his country and the region through the Alliance of Sahel State. And all three of those presidents and the vast majority of those people are standing up, resisting the imperialists, the French neocolonialists, knowing that some of them may lose their life. Many of them already have, when you consider the jihadist attacks. That's what makes this moment so serious and such a pertinent moment in our history right now. One other thing I'd like to do before I forget is connect Marcus Mosiah Garvey to Malcolm X. Many people may know that Malcolm X's father was, when Marcus Garvey was petitioning the League of Nations, Malcolm X's father was in charge of collecting signatures. And in that process, he was found murdered on the trolley tracks. This is a direct link between Marcus Garvey and Malcolm X. We have people in this chat right now who knew Malcolm X quite well, and they are the link to us. So right now, for me, it's an honor and a privilege to be in this moment, to be the link between Marcus, Malcolm, all of us, and President Traoré right now in this moment. And it was also an honor and a privilege to be included in the film of my brother Getachew in Ethiopia. I can't wait to see the finished product. I thank you for your 13 years of labor to put out propaganda that we need at this time with our current voices. What we are experiencing right now, just as Marcus came and was the center pole that more than 11 million of us rallied around in a moment that has not been duplicated since. Just as that time was special, right now we are in a special moment where we are rallying around the Sahel Alliance and the face of that alliance right now, which is President Ibrahim Traoré. I was honored and privileged to be a part of a delegation that went to Burkina Faso in May of 2024. It was led by Her Excellency Ambassador Erikana Chihombori-Kwao. That was a historic meeting because it wasn't the first time that African diasporans had gone to Burkina Faso. That had been happening for decades. It may not have even been the first time that a group of Afro descendants met with President Traore. But that meeting was recorded and went viral. We all know that Ambassador Erikana Chihombori-Quao has been our voice, our fearless voice out there denouncing the imperialists and the neocolonialists in Africa. And she led that delegation. So the meeting between, say, Mama Africa and our warrior son, Prince Traore, was very special. Following that, I was able to be a part of the Friends of President Ibrahim Traore in the West delegation that was organized by attorney Malik Zulu Shabazz, that extended the agenda and the mission of Afro-descendants, New Africans, Pan-Africanists of all stripes and persuasions, who by now were protesting and standing up on behalf of President Ibrahim Traore when he was attacked, targeted by U.S. AFRICOM Commander General Michael Langley, former AFRICOM commander, because he has now lost his job. And so the parallels between Garvey's time and this time continue, because following Garvey, we know the Italians invaded Ethiopia, and all around the world, Black people stood up in defense of Ethiopia and volunteered to defend Ethiopia. And so this is again what we're seeing. When General Langley in the United States targeted President Ibrahim Traore, the Black world stood up in defense of the I would say leader, or one of the three leaders of self-determination and Pan-Africanism on the continent. So in a very real way, history is repeating itself. And the question is what are all of we going to do about it? So the Friends of President Ibrahim Traore in the West delegation met with the Burkinabe officials, committed to sending a delegation, building that relationship, and setting up a headquarters so that we would have boots on the ground, and that our commitment would go beyond slogans, beyond protesting in the street, that it would become intensified and tangible. Following that delegation, another great, I'll say leader worker, because it's the workers who are the leaders, my good brother and comrade Yao, organized the RBG, Red, Black, and Green 126 plus delegation. That refers to the citizenship that was granted in Ghana, that he was instrumental, and he will be speaking later and he can talk a little bit about that. But he organized a delegation. Like all the delegations, there are many that are coming to Burkina Faso, and we all have the same sentiment, the same mission, the same desire to express our support for President Ibrahim Traore, and to find a way to contribute to the revolution that is taking place in the Sahel, that we hope will take over the entire continent and bring about Garvey's dream of a united African states with sufficient power to protect all of us. So in that sense, I've been a part of three, what I would call, between Afro-descendants, also known as New Africans or Black people in the West, who really don't have a government of their own to meet with the government. They're diplomatic missions. And so my role has been to be something of a professional diplomat, something that started for me back in 2003, once again in Addis Ababa, when the African Union was founded and they amended their constitution with the Article 3Q amendment that invited and encouraged the full participation of the African diaspora in the building of the African Union. And I remember as a young man at that time, being in the building, being in the room with the heads of state of Africa, and remembering that was part of Garvey's dream, that there would be an independent Africa. So as a young man, that made a huge impression on me. In fact, it actually epigenetically encoded in my DNA, that moment, that spirit of unity. Because here it was that the heads of state of Africa were putting out their arms and saying, it's time for the Africans abroad to come home and be one with us. That was the spirit. Now, over the past 22 years, at that time, we didn't know what it would be. But we now have had 22 years of experience with the African Union. I'm not going to go into that too deeply. But they have not been able to achieve what is called positive sovereignty. And they are very far from Garvey and Nkrumah's dream of a united Africa. They are still just an intergovernmental association, right? A social club of African heads of states with some structures to discuss policies which they have no power to actually enforce. And so that is why we African people, the holders of sovereignty, have to find a way to unite. Because if you think about it, right now, each one of you, you're breathing. That is the sovereign power that comes from the divine creator that is inherent in you. It is the life force energy. It is natural law. Your heart is beating, your lungs are pumping, the life force energy, the power is in with you. Nobody can take that from you. When we take that natural sovereignty and agree to mutualize it, to compact it into a confederation, a federation, or some form of unitary government, all of that individual sovereignty is collected and creates what we call government. And government then uses that sovereignty, that authority, to organize in the most intelligent ways the union between human resources and natural resources. That's called an economy. And when we have leaders of integrity who have capable ministers, educated and intelligent, who put service and sacrifice ahead of their own needs, they will then organize the human resources with the natural resources in the way to meet the needs of the people. This is what has been lacking in Africa. However, this is what we are witnessing in Burkina Faso. We are seeing that President Ibrahim Traoré has enough people around him. Not all of the people, not all of his government officials, but he has enough. And there's enough genuine love and support from the Burkinabe people that we are witnessing intelligent organization of the Burkinabe resources and human resources to create factories, to build electric cars, to process gold, to create a new patriotic culture that puts the indigenous Burkinabe culture first. This is why we love him. This is why we're supporting him. This is why we're making sacrifices. This is why we're willing to invest. Because a lot of us have become so jaded and so disappointed with opportunities that didn't pan out, bad leadership, misappropriation of funds, disorganization, corruption. We see that that's changing. And all of the missions that I went on, every delegate will attest to the warm spirit of the Burkinabe people themselves, the warm reception, this buzz, this spirit of a new day in Burkina Faso, particularly coming from the youth, Pan-African spirit. We see change. This last delegation, we went and visited a modern apartment complex, the electric car place. We see all of the fruits of the kind of advanced development that those of us in the West have become accustomed to. We see it happening, but with a pronounced and decided African flavor. So we see so much hope and potential. Now, having said that, let me also say that societies do not change overnight. And in our meeting with the Chief of Staff to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, he made the point that Burkina Faso still has a colonial government bureaucracy. And as a result, any one of us that has spent any time in Africa knows when you're dealing with African government bureaucracy, there's a gap between what we want and what we can imagine and what we can conceive and what we know is right versus their ability to act on it. And so just because President Ibrahim Traoré is leading us into the new Africa that we want, it doesn't mean that the government can move so quickly. And as a result, the last two delegations had to experience that government bureaucracy. As much as they are inviting of us, there are still challenges in getting things done. So it's important for anyone that's interested in not just visiting Burkina Faso, but interested in investing, repatriating, living, to adjust to that reality. Because our expectations are so high because of the propaganda that we see, and all of us know that it's becoming more and more difficult to determine what's actually true versus what is actually real, right? We need to be aware of the very real processes that it's going to take for our relationship and our engagement to develop and blossom. I think my comrade and the leader of the RBG 126 delegation, he may have more to say about this. There's a few other things that I want to emphasize, and then I'll seal up here. So if I get maybe just a few more minutes, is that okay, Sister Khallida?
Yeah, 2 more minutes.
All right, I didn't know how I was doing on time.
Thank you.
Okay. not, you know, Amilcar Cabral said, tell no lies, claim no easy victories. One of the biggest challenges that is our own disunity. And the government officials that we met with also mentioned the fact that because everybody is coming in this uncoordinated, haphazard faction, and everybody wants to meet with President Traore, and everybody wants to meet with various ministers, that they are becoming overwhelmed. It's becoming a burden. And many of the things that we all want, it's the same thing. And so the government is finding itself having to try to accommodate and meet with all the various groups. Sometimes they're as small as 3, sometimes they're as large as 200. In October, you know, another group of 800 is coming, another group of 200 is coming, planning for next January. There are all these other people that come as individuals with brilliant ideas and projects, but the government is not necessarily equipped to be able to meet with everyone and handle all the requests, all the project proposals. And so they have asked us to find a way to coordinate and work together. And this illustrates the importance of having a headquarters, right, on the ground. We need some Afro-descendant people from the West who are fluent in French and will go through some diplomatic training to staff the headquarters, to be able to really assist the government in smoothing out the relationship and the transition and the working relationship between those of us in the West and those on the ground in Burkina Faso. And so we will talk more about this. We have the headquarters, it's open, it's being staffed, we're recruiting. But there were other things I want to say, but I'll wrap up now. And I would simply say that the first step in all of this is demonstrating some unity by signing I think in this session, there's a declaration for building this united front to support President Ibrahim Traore. It's not a complicated document. It's not a constitution. It's not a rules. It simply says we all share the following basic principles and sentiments. So with that, I'm going to land right here. Maybe there will be other time for questions or some other aspects. I didn't hit everything that needed to be said. Oh, one very quickly. This is very quickly. The other thing, and it goes along with our disorganization, is the disunity. And look, there's a very real concern that Black Americans particularly will be weaponized by the CIA to infiltrate Burkina Faso. That is a very real threat, and it's a historic threat because that's exactly what happened in Nkrumah's time in Ghana. So we have to understand that if Burkina Faso wants to take its time to get to know us and vet us, it's because of this issue, okay? And we have to be mature and sensible about how we balance our right to return, our enthusiasm versus the real security needs. Because it makes sense if you wanted to get to the president and you wanted to destabilize Burkina Faso, it would make sense to what? Buy off and weaponize the African diaspora, the people that are coming. And we all know not all skin folk are kinfolk. So we're going to have to, amongst ourselves, figure out ways to make sure, as Marcus Garvey said, send the right people. With that, I land and thank you.
Thank you so much for that powerful presentation. It was very insightful, and we're going to keep it moving. We're going to bring on the rest of the delegation for the Friends of President Ibrahim Traore in the West, starting with Attorney Harriet Abu Bakr. So I'm going to spotlight her. And first, I want to just introduce her. She is the lead counsel of the Afro-Descendant Nation, and she is the dedicated wife of the Honorable Silas Muhammad. And she's also known as Queen Mashaki Muhammad. She's a pioneer in the reparations and self-determination movement on an international level at the United Nations since the early 1990s. And she holds a Juris Doctorate from UCLA School of Law, studied at the American University in Cairo. She is a former president of the Georgia Association of Black Women Attorneys and served as lead attorney for the All for Reparations and Emancipation NGO. So we're delighted to welcome you and sincerely thank you for joining us today. You have the floor.
Thank you very much. Greetings to all of our listeners. And I had something prepared that will give us some history as to how the Afro-Descendant Nation came about and how it fits into this picture, especially the one described by my brother Safiwe Balika. And I'm just going to step back a little in history so that you will know what the Afro-Descendant Nation is and what we're trying to accomplish. Right now in our present form, we are trying to be a collective organization for other organizations. So we don't see ourselves as an organization, but just a method and means to collect all of us together. And how did this get started? Well, we're honoring today Marcus Garvey, and Brother Blinka did mention and connect Marcus Garvey to Malcolm X. But before there was a Malcolm X, there was an Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And so I would be amiss to not mention where Malcolm got his beginning from. It hurts me to see the world try to ignore the Honorable Elijah Muhammad after all that he has done for Black people. And the Afro-Descendant Nation is a byproduct and one of his babies, because we have for years tried to get African unity and the unity of our people together. So let's step back a little in history and look and see, where did all of this come from? Now, my husband, the Honorable Silas Muhammad, asked me back in 1992 to approach the United Nations. Although in the States, we had always been talking about what had been done to us as Black people in the United States, and that was one of our prime concerns. We did realize that we're in a world, and this world is connected. And if we have problems, then we have to address those problems with the world in mind. So he asked me in 1992 to go over to the United Nations and see how we stand with the United Nations. I did that. When I went over there, I had to learn a few courses in order to negotiate the United Nations, because I hadn't learned anything about the UN in law school and didn't know up from down about where to get started. Took some classes in lobbying, and they kind of put me under the wing of a Dutch attorney over there to learn what can and cannot be done. And we started finding out how the United Nations views us. And by the time we got things together, and my husband, the Honorable Silas Muhammad, was able to actually have an intervention of his own and address the United Nations, he pointed out to them that with the ICCPR, which is the International Convention on Civil and Political Rights, Article 27, they had basically not even considered the fact that we did not have the human rights they sought to protect worldwide. And they started listening to what he was telling them. And he was saying, how can you protect a right that had been deliberately destroyed and wiped out from amongst our people, not only the United States, but throughout the slavery diaspora? How can you protect it if we're not even recognized as being human? 2/3 or 3/5 of a human in the Constitution of the United States. So they listened to him. They were caught off guard at the moment, realized that very important that they had to try to correct. And they told us that first they would have to try to figure out what could they do to correct this fact and make us part of the human race, so to speak. We already knew we were human. We're their foreparents, but we needed their help in making things happen. So what they did was give us several years where they got together and paid for the finances involved and put in on conferences together in different parts of the world so that we as Black people, and he reminded them, don't forget, in Brazil, they're comfortable with Portuguese. In South America, where we were dropped off, they're comfortable in Spanish. In North America and parts of the Caribbean, they're more comfortable with English. So in other words, for us to, excuse me 1 minute. Stop this. For us to talk to each other intelligently, we needed their help because we needed interpreters. They provided us with interpreters, and we met at several different locations to discuss what problems do we have as being part of the slavery diaspora. We did this, we met started off in Geneva, Switzerland. Then we went on to Montreal, Canada. And then they picked these spots because they knew some things were going on there that we were not aware of. So we came to La Ceiba, Honduras. Why did they pick La Ceiba, Honduras? Because there were the Garifuna people, or Garifuna, tomatoes, whatever you prefer, that had been placed on slave ships and were to be delivered to South Africa for the purposes of slavery. And they had not exactly made it because they ran into a hurricane or a terrific storm, and tore the ship up, and they landed on the shores, just happy to be alive. They were allowed to live there, and they were given land right on the coast, and they carried on with their culture as they had known it in Africa. But at the same time, they never were a real part of the slave trade. That was an example of the UN picked some of these places. At that time, we had been together on enough occasions to have vital conversations. We in the diaspora decided after a week to take a note and a vote. And we voted to call ourselves Afro-descendants. And I think this is important for our people to know throughout the diaspora, because some of our people in the United States especially might think that it doesn't have any meaning. It does have a lot of meaning when 19 nations represented by representatives can choose a name that we can all identify with. So that's what we did. Then they asked us to give them a definition, and I think all this, we had about 15 minutes to give them a definition, and we did. I thought I had it here, but I don't have it right now in front of me. But the definition was pretty complete in describing how we had been part of the slave trade, how we had been raped, how we had been systematically destroyed. We had had our mother tongue taken away from us. We had our religions taken away from us and replaced with the religion of the slave masters. So I want my people, especially in America, to understand that this was not a name that slave masters had given us. They had given us a lot of names that you're quite aware of. But this is a name that we got together and selected, giving it a lot of thought. There was some question from the Brazilians that were a part of the meeting, from a sister by the name of Edna Rowland that represented Brazil, and they outnumber us 2-1. They wanted to maybe change the definition slightly to explain the difference in the slavery they suffered there in Brazil. So we left that open for future discussion, and we never had a chance to have the future discussion because we had one more meeting in Chincha, Peru, arranged by the United Nations. And again, they decided that we would fly into Lima, Peru, and then take a bus down to Chincha, Peru, because they thought emotionally it might be very hard for us to take Chincha, Peru. When we got down there, we discovered what that was. It was in Chincha, Peru, where the slavers forced the slaves to dig an 11-mile tunnel underground, all the way from the coast into a hacienda further in, 11 miles in. And that was the purpose of avoiding taxation in their country. So they took us there to that specific place, and they took us down into those cellars, and they took us down into the actual tunnel. And some of the people in our delegation had medical training, and they assured us that the bones that we saw down there were real human bones. It wasn't any Hollywood prop or anything. And it was very overcoming. It was very hard on us mentally to stay down in those tunnels. So we saw them, and then we briefly came up. We had our discussions. We couldn't speak to each other because of the language differences, but we formed a big circle, held hands, and prayed in silence because we were remembering our ancestors and all of the trauma they had gone through. They then showed us a place next door to this hacienda where our people were punished, and the different kind of torture mechanisms they had in place there for slaves that didn't act right. And then right next to the torture building was a Catholic church. And they took us into the Catholic church, And they showed us how the janitor of the church was black. So these are things that we were exposed to by the UN to show us some of the horrors of slavery. And it did. It affected us in many ways. Just on a little humor note, when we were coming back from that trip on a bus, some of our brothers from the States wanted to cheer up everyone's mood. So out of the blue, even with the white United Nations officials that had accompanied us on the trip, they broke out with this song, Who Let the Dogs Out? Whoop, 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 de whoop. And it did help perk us up a little bit. And even some of the UN officials tried to join in the song. They didn't know it like we did, but we took care of it. And we cheered ourselves up. But what we did in this process, in the past, and this is part of the past, but it's something you need to know and understand in order to go forward from here. Don't forget the past. Don't forget your elders that got you up to this point, because we all stand on each other's shoulders. And keep that in mind, that that is one of the things and some of the processes we went through to get to this name, Afro-descendant. Now, we as a group did not have a chance to further the definition. We had planned on it. We didn't have a chance to consider ourselves a nation of people, but we had talked about it because without any warning whatsoever, the United Nations totally destroyed the Human Rights Department. It just overnight was shut down. The officials that were running it, the officials that were in place, Professor Jose Bengoa from Chile, Santiago, Chile, he had been heading up a lot of it. They were totally caught off guard, very upset, because no warning, no discussion whatsoever about closing down the Human Rights Department for the UN. And in its place, they put the Human Rights Council. And he was upset about that because he said none of the people at the beginning in this new council knew up from down about human rights. They had not majored in it. It was not part of their professional career. And that upset a lot of us, but it shows you what other people will do to try to keep us, Black people, from being treated as human beings and from advancing in this world. So keep that in mind. Don't forget what we've gone through. Don't forget what we've done to get world recognition, because that was the reason for going to the United Nations. Africa is in this world along with other nations. So in the long run, we need to have a place at the table so that we can all discuss what needs to be done. We're not going to be able to solve these problems by any other way but some kind of conversation, some kind of agreements made. We must have that, my people. So for the rest of this conversation that we have today, I hope you will keep in mind some of your past leaders, the steps we've taken to even get this far, and the steps we need to take in the future from here on. Then let's discuss it. We have to discuss these things. We need protection. We need reparations. How are we going to get it? We have to lay out a plan. How are we going to know what the 6th district means to the African Union? What does that really mean when you're considering the fate of 250 million people in the diaspora? Let's talk about it. Let's not guess about it. Let's not play about it. We need to be given reparations for what happened to us in the diaspora. Let's
Yes, ma'am.
discuss it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sorry to interrupt. And we have to keep it moving. And our attorney Malik has now joined us. So I'm just going to briefly introduce him, and you'll be able to help us with questions and answers at the end as well. Thank you so much for that powerful presentation and understanding of who we are as Afro descendants. Thank you.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
Yes, ma'am. I'm going to try and remove. There we go. So next we have attorney Malik Zulu Shabazz, who will help us to set the tone for the rest of the meeting. He is our fearless leader and tireless advocate and organizer, formerly chairman of the new Black Panther Party, and now the national president and co-founder of Black Lawyers for Justice. He's the conductor of the reparations movement under the leadership of the Honorable Salis Muhammad, and founder of Friends of President Ibrahim Traore in the West, which is a humanitarian force supporting Burkina Faso and the Alliance of the Sahel. The floor is yours, Attorney Malik.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Greetings, Black Power, and greetings to all my sisters and brothers on the line. I won't be long, but I intend to be strong in what we are going to do today. I say to you all on this special anniversary of the birth date of the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, one God, one aim, one destiny. To all my sisters and brothers, one God, one aim, one destiny. Africa for the Africans at home and abroad. It's my honor to be on with such distinguished guests, and because I'm on with such distinguished guests and important organizers from around the world, I'm going to cut my time. I know I'm scheduled as a keynote speaker, but I'm still going to cut back my time, because when I know that we have dozens, a couple dozen of the world's best organizers on, then I know that work speaks for itself. That what I would have to say is best represented by the quality of leadership that is in the room today. And this is a fulfillment of something that I have desired and worked on. And my leader, my mentor, Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad, the student of Minister Louis Farrakhan, the building of a united front and the uniting of our people all over the earth, that this is an important step in that process. I want to thank here the Afro-descended nation, of which I serve as the conductor. This work here represents what I was asked to do. I was asked to orchestrate and to bring our people together to help fulfill the vision of one of our great pioneers, and certainly the pioneer in the Western Hemisphere, the apostle of the self-determination and reparations movement. And I speak of the leader of the Afro-descended nation, who I'm proud to serve, the Honorable Salis Muhammad. And Honorable Salis Muhammad, it has just been revealed through research that his genealogy and the genealogy of that great one that you have just heard, Sister Queen Harriet Abubakar, that their DNA and their genealogy traces back to Guinea-Bissau. And that is a divine connection, because of the man who was also greatly responsible for us gathering here today and bringing organizers from across the planet, bringing Pan-Africanists together, of which I am one. bringing Afro descendants together, of which he is one and I am one. I speak of that great envoy and Pan-African advocate and author and swimmer, my dear brother and comrade in this liberation struggle and friends of President Ibrahim Traore, that great envoy, Sifiwe Leka, who is working in Guinea-Bissau and who I say is helping in this hour, is walking in the footsteps of that great one from that nation, Amilcar Cabral. To my national and international spokesman who is headed to Ocho Rios, Jamaica for the Marcus Garvey celebration in my absence to speak on my behalf as I am abroad overseas at an undisclosed location. That one who spearheaded the delegation to Burkina Faso, who's speaking on my behalf in Jamaica, that elder who I can trust to speak for me anywhere on the planet, Elder Mmola Ajabu, who you will hear from soon. Sister Tahida, the ambassador who's worked so hard to keep bringing us together. My honors to you and to the president of the Afro-descended nation, who we'll hear from also, Sister Queen Akila Mukaram. So many others I could thank. I want to thank all of you, Sister Queen Truth Bay, every organizer who will come on. One God, one aim, one destiny, building a united front. So I want to say we're here to give some results in this hour. We must get results in this hour because world circumstances are changing rapidly. And we're happy that His Excellency, that bold young leader, has taken strong action to get results in this hour. And that one is the one who we have all been inspired by, that great member of the Alliance of Sahel States, the president of Burkina Faso, His Excellency, the Honorable Ibrahim Traore. We honor him for what he's doing to bring us together, and to all of his officials and spokespersons. I'm talking about Basaloma Bazier and others who are working in Burkina Faso. Brother Ouattara, who is a strong organizer in the Sahel States and Alliance of Organizations, and to that great ambassador in Washington, D.C., who's traveling America, working on behalf of the people of Burkina Faso, Ambassador Coulibaly, if he's listening. I better get down to what I have to say, but it's always important for me to acknowledge the body as a whole. I'm here because no one man can do it alone. No one organization can do it alone. Sister Queen Harriet Abubakar was correct. In theory, the Afro-descended nation is supposed to be what Brother Malcolm X, who we honor also, what Brother Malcolm X called an organization of organizations. In his terminology, he said an organization of all African unity, modeled after the Organization of African Unity. And so here we are. And I just want to say here that that's the main mission in my main message today. We must solidify and build this united front and get results. We traveled to Burkina Faso and we made our trip in our delegation, but we left a flag planted. We got some results. We have opened up our offices, and I'm sure the photos will be shown at some point in this presentation. We have opened up our offices there, and our offices are not just for us, the Afro-descended nation, the Black Panther movement, Attorney Malik Shabazz, Elder Mmola Ajabu, Brother Sifiwe Baleka. They're not just for us. They are for all revolutionaries who are working in harmony with us to help support this great emerging independent nation, Burkina Faso. We are here also representing the friends of President Traore in the West. And so I want to say here that we as Black people, I don't want to get caught up into name games and identity confusion. One's labeled this. One man raised his hand. He say, I'm a Jamaican. Another man say, well, I'm a Pan-Africanist. Another one raised his hand and say, I'm an Afro-descendant. Another one will raise his hand, say, I'm indigenous. Another one raise his hand and give another answer. All of that may be true and must be true. But we must understand, above all, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us, we are the original people on the face of the planet Earth, and everywhere on the 196,940,000 square miles of the planet Earth, we are the original black people of the planet Earth, and no label or title can divide us, no matter which point on the 144 countries throughout the 57,255,000 square miles of land of the diaspora. No label or title can divide us. We have passed the point and time in history where our total liberation and independence shall already have been realized. Let us understand in this form. This form is for reports from revolutionaries and freedom fighters as to what they're doing and what support they need from us and how we're going to fight this battle together. I cannot emphasize this enough. That is the purpose of why we are here. We are here to line up in a patriotic front for our nation. Here on Marcus Garvey weekend, line up in a front in the West, a fighting front in the East. And we are here to make up lost time because our liberation and independence should have already been realized. We must understand that we must have that sense of urgency because we are late and we are on the late freight, as our elders would talk us. So we're saying that we've heard Malcolm. We've heard the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. We understand from our study that we have continued to suffer intolerable crimes and abuses inflicted by our common enemies and exacerbated by some of our own. No one here is ignorant to the evil and the wickedness of the white man and what he has done to our people all over the earth. No leader or organizer on this line is ignorant to Uncle Toms, traitors, stool pigeons, and backbiters, cooperative slave traders in our own race that have sold us out and betrayed us. We understand the problem clearly in this hour. And at this present time, we are thanking President Ibrahim Traore and the Alliance of Sahel States for giving us a new confidence in our motherland, our homeland, a land and territory of our own that we can see and feel and build on and gain citizenship on. We cannot underestimate the importance of the transformation that has come from divine, that has given us a narrow opportunity. But we cannot sleep and we cannot tell ourselves any lies and claim easy victories, believing that President Ibrahim Traore and President Goita and Abdul Rahman Tijani of Niger, we cannot delude ourselves that this window of time is going to last forever. No window of time lasts forever. And we must strike out now while the iron is hot so that we can capitalize on this chance. We have agreed, those leaders here on this line, as I move towards a close, we have agreed to organize in unity and fight for the righteous principles and goals for self-determination. All of us are fighting for self-determination. Afro-descendants in the black people who claim Afro-descendant in the West are fighting for self-determination. And I know that every African in the Western Hemisphere, every black man and woman in the Western Hemisphere is going to raise their black fist, say, Black power. I'm fighting for self-determination too. Every black man and woman and organizer on the continent of Africa or Asia or Europe, you are fighting for self-determination as well. I know for a fact that if you're on this line, because I only want to be on this line with brothers and sisters who are fighting for united African states, as Dr. Chuma has taught us, a United African States, otherwise known as the United States of Africa. I know, and this is the only people I want to be around, ones who are fighting for reparations for Afro descendants, and yes, reparations for all of us on the face of the planet Earth. I only want to be around, and I'm happy, have gratitude for being around those here who have a firm stance on human rights, the establishment and emancipation of our independence, lands, and territories. What do we mean, establishment of our independent land and territories? Meaning that we are here to take back what the white man has taken from us. You say, oh, Attorney Shabazz, you're sounding confrontational. You know, I'm sorry, sisters and brothers. Yes, I'm an attorney. Yes, I'm a diplomat. Yes, I'm responsible. But hell, I've been confrontational all my life. Getting free from anti-colonialism and imperialism and white domination is automatic confrontation. And so what I'm here to tell you is you ain't gonna even think about getting out of this if you ain't ready for some conflict with your enemy. Now, as I conclude, Black Power, if you listen to me and throw a black fist up out there on this line while I got this internet connection, because I'm getting ready to pass it over to y'all in a moment and sit back and hear these great reports. We have agreed, the leadership that is coming together across the planet, that we're bringing together in unity in this special operation. We have agreed to struggle for the abolishment of imperialism. If you want the end to the white man's imperialism, raise your black hand in this audience, because I'm not going to be on here. I don't want you on here. If you still want to cooperate with the white man's imperialism, with French imperialism, British imperialists, damn Zionist imperialists, gunboat diplomacy, we're here to end that. The elimination of neo-colonialism. Who in the hell doesn't want to get rid of neo-colonialism and say it straight up and straight out strong here on this line that you are for the end of these Uncle Toms, bloodsuckers, self-interested leaders everywhere cooperating with our enemy to keep us oppressed? Hell, I'm here to go after every one of these Negroes, and I'm here to help you, to help us to overthrow every one of these middleman, blood-sucking, so-called black people that are standing in the way of our independence. God damn it, if they're not a leader like Ibrahim Traore, they need to get the hell out of Africa. If they're not like Malcolm X or Marcus Garvey or Dr. Khalid Muhammad or Malik Zulu Shabazz or Safiwe Baleka, then get them the hell out of here, because we don't have time to play with this in this day and time. We admit, sisters and brothers, bear with me, man. Bear with me, sisters and brothers. We are tired of the white man's domination, and we're going to get rid of it. That's what we're here for. We're not here to play diplomatic games and to tiptoe through the tulips. Whereas we admit, man, sisters and brothers, we are tired. We're tired of arguing with each other, fighting with each other, paperwork wars, online post wars, fussing and fighting with each other. We're tired of it. If you're tired of that, then you stay on this line. If you want to continue with that, then you should go on somewhere else. But those that are tired of fighting with each other and want to fight to get to each other, well, I'm sick of jealousy. I'm sick of envy. I'm sick of one leader trying to undermine another leader and one trying to gain an advantage over another one trying to put another one down, and one trying to be more popular than another. That's why the hell we're in this damn condition. I want for my brother and my sister what I want for myself. If you can say it better than me, go ahead and say it. If you can get it done better than me, I'll be the first one to help you. Can you understand me as I plead to you as I leave off of here? We shall no longer tolerate or suffer the unacceptable conditions and abuses that I have described. And we as a leadership agree to set aside and dissolve petty differences, set aside unnecessary competition, set aside rivalry, set aside factionalism and divisiveness, set aside corruption and any impediment to our goals. That's why I'm here. That's why I believe we're here. I reiterate a call to join this united front. Everywhere, bring sisters and brothers and leaders that got sense into this united front. I am the student of the Honorable Khalid Muhammad. I am here to serve the Honorable Silas Muhammad. I'm here to serve the Afro-descendant nation. I'm here to serve the Pan-African movement around the world. I'm here to give my life and in self-defense, take life to get this job done. One God, one aim, one destiny, and I submit this to the body, and I'll listen, and I love you all. God bless you. Black Power.
Black Power, thank you so much for that powerful presentation. As our keynote speaker, Attorney Malik Zulu Shabazz. Next, I want to bring on your comrade, our comrade, Elder Mmola Ajabu, who is Vice President and delegation lead of the Friends of Ibrahim Traore in the West. And he's also a veteran in the Black Panther movement, a dedicated leader, and a powerful force in the movement. So let's welcome Elder Mmola Ajabu. Are you there? You were there.
Can you hear me?
Yes, turn your camera back on.
Oh, how I look?
You look great. Thank you. It's more about what you got to say.
Yeah. Appearance is one thing, but message is more important, and I would agree. And upon hearing the message that was just given by the Honorable Malik Zulu Shabazz, I don't know that I have a whole lot to say. That brother, you covered the waterfront, and as you mentioned, your guide, your mentor, who you actually tried to mimic, the Honorable Khalid Muhammad. You know, he and I had a relationship, but we were more on the same level. We were counsel. We would talk to each other about what was going on and things. And I hear that he has the impact on you. To where is that? Because what did you say? I'm not going to be long, but I intend to be strong. Well, that's classic Khalid. And likewise, I don't intend to be long, but I do intend to be strong in reflecting on this day, this man that we are honorable. We're honoring the Honorable Marcus Garvey. His vision for our liberation was for all of us to go back to Africa. I mean, he even came up with a boat that was going to take us back. They brought us over on a boat. We'll go back on the boat. And I appreciate that. And I was with that. But if I'm a realist, that's not going to happen for all of us. And even though I believe that we got to go back to Africa, look at the guidance that Elijah Muhammad gave me, even though I wasn't in the nation. But that doesn't mean that I wasn't listening. And when the brother said, do for self, I said down, that's it. That's it. And when Malcolm there, everybody knows Malcolm, but I hear you, Queen Area. Everybody knows Malcolm, and everybody should know Malcolm. But the foundation is Elijah. Now, when I was listening to Minister Farrakhan, he was talking about a conversation that he had with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and he was saying that, look, you wrote this right here. You said this right here. And Farrakhan said, the Honorable Farrakhan said that the messenger told him that I said that when I was a child. It's almost true. It's not all the way true, because the future has a way of changing that what you thought in the past. He said it's almost true. And so if I'm looking at where we're going and trying to develop a strategy to where that would be independent like Marcus Garvey talked, and be independent like Elijah Muhammad is talking, and be independent like we are striving to be. We got to learn from our history, but we got to make decisions about the reality that we're living in right now here today. All of us are not going to be able to go back to Africa. All of us, with us being Pan-Africans and growing up in different locations, all of us that says that Africa is the key to our liberation, we've got to understand where we fit in that. And just like you said, Brother Malik, we can't be squabbling with each other just because we think it's this way or we think it's that way. Man, we at war. We can't be squabbling like that. We are at war. And if we understand that we're at war, then that's the first thing that we got to deal with. And that's what the brothers on the African continent, especially there in the Sahel, that's what they're dealing with. They are at war. People are getting killed. And when they're trying to win the war and also manage the society, they got priorities. When we was there was people walking around in the street begging because they was hungry. That's more important to feed the people than us to get our citizenship. And Lord knows I want it badly. And you ought to be able to do two things at one time. But if there's a priority on the table, you got to feed the people. And so we are not going to unify. By picking a fight. If we pick a fight, we don't have to pick a fight. The fight has already been picked for us, and they coming after us. They done introduced troops in Washington, D.C. France is trying to get back into Sahel. Duck is already over in South Africa, in the Congo, trying to make relationships. They already picking a fight. Let's fight them. And then once we take care of that fight, then we can squabble among ourselves on how we're going to get along. Thank you for the time that you have given me. Thank you, Honorable Malik, for the opportunities that you have made for myself and others, and then continue to do. And may the God of our revolution continue to turn up again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That was very powerful, as we expected. We're going to move on to another powerful brother and speaker, Baba Mukasa Ricks, who is a veteran of the All African People's Revolutionary Party. He is also a veteran of the Black Panther movement and the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, SNCC, who popularized the phrase Black Power. He's worked alongside Kwame Ture and many other legends in the movement. Baba Mukasa, you have the floor.
Well, hello, Mother Africa. Thank you. I would like to say that I'm very honored to be part of Marcus Garvey Day. and most of all the UNIA. I thank Brother Zulu for the role he's played for our link to Burkina Faso. And I would like to make clear that the independence of Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali is meaningless unless it's linked to the independence of Africa and all the African liberation movements around the world. Our fight is for Africa, the whole of Africa. And Burkina Faso knows just a small little area. I would like to say that until Africa is free, we cannot be free. Now, as we look around, we continue to see imperialism operating on the inside of Africa, neocolonialism backed by the United States, France, Britain, Germany, and the other imperialist power continue to rape and murder Africa. We need to drive all the mining companies that's raping our diamonds and gold and oil and silver out of Africa. We need to drive them out of Africa. And at the same time, imperialism is attacking. Today in Haiti, they are using drones and dropping bombs on Haiti and killing the liberation movements and the leadership in Haiti. They are also committing genocide on our people in the Congo. The Congo is the richest area of the world, produce all electronic material to make electronics work, like Coton, iPhone, and all of them are committing genocide on the people in the Congo. The United States, the CIA got death squads running throughout the Congo and throughout Africa, and that we have to be ready to confront the United States for all the murdering and killing that it has done in Africa and continue to do around the world. We also, as African liberation movements, have to condemn imperialism and Zionism and what they're doing in Palestine to the Palestinian people. We see genocide, and we must join in with them, recognize Palestine, and join Palestine in the fight. All of us should go to the streets and speak up for Palestine. And at the same time, I want to make sure that you know that I'm representing and trying to represent the best I can the PAIGC of Guinea-Bissau, which is a liberation movement that continue to fight for their independence and fight against neocolonialism. We must support the Cuban Revolution that represents socialism and the socialist nation of Venezuela, Russia, China, and wherever, North Korea, and wherever they exist. But socialism is an economic system that where we would take back all our natural resources, control our economics of Africa, and then use that economics to build houses, lights, gas, water, and food for our people without them being in debt. Give all our people medicine and join and build medical centers and charge people nothing for medicine. Give our people education, pay children to go to school. But we must first cut the hands of the imperialists that rape our resources out of Africa. We must cut their hands off. The United States is guilty. The Democratic Party, the Republican Party, they're all the same. So today, our fight, again, like Zulu just said, is against imperialism and neocolonialism. Neocolonialism, when they put Black people in these political office and they look like they're leaders, but at the same time, you're getting poor and poor, like here in Atlanta. We got Black politicians all over the place and people living under bridges, hungry, and starving to death. They are nothing but puppets of imperialism, and they help imperialism put us under these bridges, and they don't speak out for the liberation of Africa. So again, I say that PAIGC, I say that the PAC in South Africa, and All African People's Revolutionary Party, if you want to learn and get some real education, Google All African People's Revolutionary Party. There are African leaders that's on those websites that you could listen to. Many of them are dead and gone, but they left a message for you, and you need to read and educate our people. We need to put together schools, not for money, but bring people into schools schools and educate them, round up our children, educate them and teach them and show them the way. So again, I say that
I don't see him on.
socialism is the economic system that we must use for our liberation. Our fight is for the total liberation and unification of Africa under an all-African scientific socialist government. I say one unified socialist Africa, and I call for revolution. And yes, like Zulu just said, we will have to have armed struggle for liberation. All our armies have to unite. All our organizations have to unite. And we must come under one philosophy of revolution. And this revolution come under the direction of Kwame Nkrumah, Thomas Sankara, all the liberation movements that have existed in Africa, Sekou Touré, and many, many others, Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, and all of them who have laid the foundation. And now we have liberation groups like Thomas Sankara, like the Guinea-Bissau and how you say, Burkina Faso and those groups and around the world, all the people that celebrate Malcolm X, join organization, be part of organization, and help move organization forward. Let's move our armies forward. Let's move our organization forward, because in order for us to get Africa, in order for us to liberate Africa, we're going to have to come together and we will have to fight. Don't think imperialism and neo-colonial will leave Africa without a fight. They will not. We must fight them until they're dead. Long live Africa, long live Pan-Africanism, long live African revolution. And there's nothing no individual can do. We must do it as a party. Marcus Garvey belonged to the UNIA. And what party do each and every one of you belong to? Join these parties. Let's bring them together. Let's fight for the liberation of Africa. Long live Marcus Garvey. Long live the UNIA. Long live all revolutionary parties and organizations. Long live the APRP.
Thank you, sir. We are with you 100%. Now, let's move on. Is Olimata Tall ready? Okay, I see you now. You've got your camera on. Let me just remove your pin. 1 minute. There you are, Oli. Okay, so let me just do a brief introduction. Executive Director Oli Matatal of the Connie Tucker Legacy Foundation. We call her Oli for short. She is a strong voice in the Pan-African movement. She's a youth leader. She's driving change and inspiring the next generation. So she brings energy, she brings vision and determination to everything she does. Welcome, Sister Oli.
Greetings, and happy Garvey Day to everybody. Like Baba Mukata said earlier, and Brother Malik and Elder, most of the message pretty much has been said. But I want to focus on the young people because right now, when we talk about young people in Africa, we're talking about Africa is 77% young people. And so, and we're in a dire state because right now African youth need skills, they need jobs, they need self-determination. And for me, that's where my focus is, to focus on how do we empower our youth? How do we give them the skills that they need? How can we teach them? How can we mobilize them? How can we set the example for them? And I think what we're doing, I know what we're doing with the Friends of Ibrahim Traore in the West and the Black Panther movement and all the different organizations are right now celebrating the vision of Garvey. We're investing in our young people. And it has to be a very concentrated effort in building youth economics, youth leadership, youth empowerment. We've got to figure out a way to deal with the violence amongst the young people and the lack of self-love amongst the young people. I know the music industry has declined in many ways when you compare it to what was going on in the 80s and 90s with the message music, etc. So we've got to figure out a way to get at these artists. Because the artists are the beacons of our movement. They play the soundtrack of our revolution. And we've got to figure out how to use them to continue to influence the people at large, wherever we want on the continent, whether it be outside of Africa, whether it be in the diaspora. We've got to figure out a way to get to these young artists because they are having such a major impact on the youth of today. And if they are not politicized, how can they give us a politicized message? So culture is extremely important. Music, art. You know, they say that some of I work with Dead Press and they call them artivists, you know, activists in art. You know, it's very, very important. We just recently had the Marley family in Senegal about 2 weeks ago. I was there with them in Senegal for an event that they had there. You know, not too long ago, you had Anthony B, you had Sizzler, you had all these different artists. You've got R&B artists coming to Africa, etc. You know, I even heard that Burna Boy wanted to do something in Burkina Faso with Traore. So you have these powerful musicians that have such a dynamic international impact on the youth. We've got to figure out a way to get to them. We've got to figure out a way to get them to understand the line, to understand the message, to understand the movement, and to unify with us and to coalition with us and trying to get a lot of this work done. Again, like I said before, most of the message has been said. You know, this is a very serious struggle and a serious time that we're living in right now. We see what's going on in Washington, D.C. I'm in the Gambia right now, thank God. But we see what's going on in Washington. We see what Trump and his gang are trying to do to democracy in America. So we've got to make sure we empower Africans in the diaspora all over the world because you might need to bail out. Seriously, you might need to bail out. And yes, everybody ain't gonna stay, but if you're gonna be deported to another country, you might as well organize yourself to come to Africa anyway. If they just gonna pull you off the street and take you to any detention center around the world, regardless of where you were born. So we're in a dire state right now when we're talking about not just the state of the United States of America, but the state of the world. And the African world, wherever we are, whether it be in the Caribbean, whether we're on the continent, whether we're in Brazil, South America, whether we're in the United States of America, we need to make sure that we have a strong agenda, we have strong goals, and we focus on those goals and unify our people to accomplish those goals. So again, thank you very much for having me today. Just remember what the philosophy of Marcus Garvey, he stood for self-determination. And there wouldn't be no Malcolm X if there wasn't a Marcus Garvey. Let's be very clear, because Malcolm X's parents were Garveyites. You understand? His father was killed by the Klan. You understand? And so we have to understand that Garvey plays a central role in our movement, what he stood for, his philosophy, his ideology, and we have to continue to work towards those principles. So thank you again for having me. Black Power. Happy Garvey Day.
Thank you so much, Sister Olimata Tall. And we're going to move on now with our next speaker, who is Brother Atara. Trying to get him to turn on his camera. Let's just see one moment. Actually, I don't see him at all. So we're going to keep moving and come back to him. So we're ready for that concludes our delegation in Burkina Faso. And now we're going to jump to our other speakers. Upcoming, we have the president of the Afro-Descendant Nation, Dr. Akila Mukaram. And I'd like her to turn on her camera now, please. And following her, we're going to have Brother Stephen Golding, who is president of the UNIA Jamaica. So we're looking forward to hearing from both of them, and we'll add more speakers as we go along. So let me just spotlight Dr. Akila and just a brief introduction. Dr. Akila is not only the president of the Afro-Descendant Nation, she's leading efforts to unite Afro-descendants with a focus on securing reparations, promoting unity, and advocating for self-determination and championing their recognition as a distinct and sovereign group. She is committed to the well-being and advancement of Afro-descendant populations, actively working toward the creation of a just and inclusive world where their identity, history, culture, and human rights are globally recognized and respected. President Akila, you have the floor.
Thank you, Dr. Tahita. Assalamu alaikum and greetings to everyone on this esteemed panel and in our listening audience. I wish you much peace in our endeavors of what we have before us in this day and hour. Today, I see all of us together, Afro-descendants, our Pan-African leaders and organizations, and I can feel the electric current even through this virtual space today. We are a living testament of the legacy of our visionary, the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey. He taught us that a people without knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots. Today, we plant our feet firmly in our history together. As president of the Afro-descendant nation, I am more than just that. I am first and foremost one of you. I want to speak today plainly and clearly and do my best to paint a picture, a clear picture of where my mind is in regards to Afro-descendant peoples and the Afro-descendant nation relative to this united front here in this space. First, let's begin with the definition of Afro-descendant peoples. The Queen mentioned it earlier, and I will share the definition with you here. The term Afro-descendants refers to descendants of peoples who were forcibly dispossessed of their homeland, Africa. I know all of us as descendants of enslaved Africans can feel that first bullet point of the definition. Were transported to the Americas and the slavery diaspora for the purpose of enslavement. Were subjected to slavery. I know for myself, I can still feel that trauma right now, coursing through me today from our ancestors. Were subjected to forced mixed breeding and rape. Have experienced through force the loss of mother tongue, culture, and religion. They took our mother tongue of some of us, especially those of us here in America. So we don't know where we are from. And now, you know, we can look up our ancestry, but that's something that they should be paying for us to do, to help us restore what was lost from us. And or have experienced racial discrimination due to lost ties or partially lost ties from their original identity. If that definition resonates with you and you know that that is you, you are an Afro descendant. As the Queen clearly explained to you earlier, that name, our identity, was voted on by 19 nations. It would be disrespectful, a disservice for us not to accept and embrace our identity that 19 nations with representatives of Afro-descendant people, of our people, voted on for us. Now let's paint this picture clearly. Envision in your mind our history. We were taken from our homeland, scattered across the globe. Our identity as a nation of people was stripped. Families were separated and forced to take on new names, new languages, new borders of our enslavers. We were told to forget about our ancestry. We were kept from reading for centuries. And during those centuries, we were taught to see ourselves as different from our Black brothers and sisters globally. The Black American or African American was different from the Afro-Caribbean, the Afro-Latino, the Black European. We were told to focus on the unique struggles that we have in the individual nations where we were or where we were dropped off, rather than the singular thread that connects us all. We became a vast multitude of drops of water in countless cups. I cannot even number the amount of cups. Each one distinct and each one isolated. But what is a drop of water on its own, no matter how pure it is? On its own, it can be easily absorbed and it can easily evaporate. That one drop of water does not have the power to carve canyons or turn turbines. Now let's just imagine multitudes of drops of water that are not in separate cups, but they're flowing together. Imagine them converging into one powerful river. That, my people, is what it means to be Afro-descendant. Afro-descendant is not just a label. It is a rediscovery of our shared truth. It is the recognition that no matter which continent we were born in, no matter what language we speak, if you are a descendant of the enslaved Africans, you are a part of this one mighty river of Afro-descendants. It is the understanding that your struggle in Brazil is tied to our struggle in America. It is the truth that our fight for justice in London is connected to our fight in Jamaica and Ghana. When a drop of water joins the river, it does not lose its identity. It gains power. It becomes part of a force that can shape even the earth itself. When we declare ourselves as Afro-descendant, we are not erasing our unique cultures or histories. We are acknowledging them as tributaries that feed one unstoppable force. And what can this river of Afro-descendants do when we speak on one accord? We can speak for our self-determination. We can demand our rightful place in this world. We can collectively negotiate the resources and lands we were denied. And we can, with the undeniable force of 250 million, demand reparations for centuries of unpaid labor, stolen heritage, and generational trauma. A single drop of water can whisper. A river can roar. This river does not flow alone. It merges with the great oceans of our allies, our partners, our supporters, our brothers and sisters in the Pan-African movement. It is here in the vast collective body of water that our unified force becomes a global tide for justice, equity, self-determination, and reparations for Afro-descendants. We have seen what happens when we're scattered. We have seen injustice, poverty, and the perpetual struggle. But we have also seen power of the unity in moments of history. The Haitian Revolution, the Civil Rights Movement, the Pan-African Congresses. These were moments when the drops of water came together, if only for a time, and changed the world. We want to elevate the Afro-descendant nation in the minds of Afro-descendants, Pan-Africans, and Africans on the continent, and elsewhere from an organization to that of an emerging sovereign nation. We want to be the umbrella nation of all Afro-descendants, as Israel is the umbrella nation of all Jewish people. And I use Israel because they have been through a Holocaust, and we have been through a mega Holocaust. So we can learn some things on going for our self-determination and reparations from the Jewish people because they had a startup nation. It does not matter what religion, ideology, gender, age, ethnicity, or natural origin you are from. If you are a descendant of enslaved Africans, you are an Afro-descendant, and the Afro-descendant nation is being built and emerging in its sovereignty for you. So a little update on what the Afro-descendant nation has been up to. We've been laying groundwork for this united front, and I'm proud to report we made some real progress. In the last year, we've been working on raising global awareness, building a digital database of our people, and preparing to launch town hall meetings to keep the lines of communication open and to hear the voices of our people, and strategize on educational pathways to help us claim our shared identity. We have been working to organize the organizations to help us create the legal and political framework we need to stand on the world stage and demand our right to self-determination and reparations. With this united front, how it can support us, we realize that we're only one part of this much bigger movement. And we know that to truly be heard, we need all of us working together. We're asking you to support us in 3 key ways. Help us reach our people. Use your networks to encourage them to embrace their identity as Afro-descendants and to support the building of our emerging nation. Lend us your expertise. We need your knowledge in politics, economics, and community building. And let's work together. Let's find projects we can collaborate on to really show the world what we can do when we act as one. I'm happy to say we're not starting from scratch. We've already forged some alliances with several organizations dedicated to justice and self-determination. We're seeking to actively collaborate with leaders from the Afro-Caribbean and Afro-Latino communities as well to make sure our strategies are inclusive and truly reflect the diverse experiences of our global family. Our next steps, I'll say it like this: the time for talking is over. The time for action is now. We want to be clear and coordinated in our next steps. So here's what I'm proposing for right now. Let us create a shared communication hub so we can coordinate our strategies in real time. Let us work together on a single unified resolution, or whatever we want to call it, for self-determination and reparations. Let's launch a joint pilot project that will serve as a powerful example of our economic unity. So today I want to ask you to join me in a permanent change. I want to ask you to join me in this river. It requires more than just words. It requires solidarity, partnership, and action. To the Pan-African leaders and organizations here on this call with us today, I extend our hand. We hope to earn your partnership and support in building the infrastructure of our collective future. And we offer ours in return. The strength of the Afro-descendant nation only adds to the power of our unified Pan-African movement. This is our moment. The time for waiting is over. We need more than just voices. We need resources. We need more than just thoughts. We need hands to build. As the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught, you must learn to produce what you want. You must get rid of the idea that others will take care of you. We are not a begging people. We are a powerful people, and we must do for self. I urge you to support our efforts to invest in the economic power of the Afro-descendant nation and to lend your skills and your passion to the work we are doing to achieve self-determination for us all. This is an invitation to liberation. To every descendant of enslaved Africans listening right now, I ask you to make a promise to yourself and to your ancestors. Declare it in your heart, declare it in your family, and declare it to the world. Declare that you are Afro-descendant. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. That was very passionate and insightful presentation, and we appreciate you very much for all that you do. Next, I want to bring on someone who is very instrumental in the Pan-African movement. He is Stephen Golding, the president of the UNIA in Jamaica. He's a Pan-African leader and professor of Garveyism, a passionate orator and advocate for reparations and African unity. He spent over a decade rebuilding the UNIA ACE, founded in 1914 by Jamaica's first national hero, the Right Excellent Marcus Mosiah Garvey. He is the president of the UNIA UCL from 2008 to the present. So thank you for joining us. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Sabri. Thank you for chairing this meeting. Greetings, great Garvey Day to everyone. We are on the eve of the 138th Earth Strong, as we say in Jamaica, birthday or anniversary of the birth of Jamaica's first national hero, the right excellent Marcus Mosiah Garvey, who everyone has been saluting today. As Pan-Africanists, of course, we are the children of Garvey, or as he called us, his cubs. Garvey had a very famous speech he delivered in which he referenced the FBI code name for him as the Black Tiger and asked, well, you may cage the tiger, but there are many cubs coming after. I want to take the moment just to thank Brother Malik, Shabazz, Elder Ajabu, Sister Olimata, Brother Sifwe, and all the members of the Friends of Ibrahim Traore, the delegation that went to Burkina Faso. Brother Malik, particularly for organizing this gathering of Pan-Africanists, which is so definitely needed, and focusing it on how we can help our brother Captain Ibrahim Traore in this revolution he's carrying out in West Africa and amongst the Sahel states. It's an excellent movement and one which I think we can lend our support to, but in very specific ways, which is where I want to center and focus my discussion. First of all, on the 138th anniversary of Garvey's birth, let us recognize the fact that he organized Black people in a way nobody had done before him or since him. The UNIA historically is still the largest mass movement of Africans and African descendants ever organized in our history. And so we can learn by certain specific things that Garvey did in terms of how we move forward. The idea of bringing Pan-Africans together is excellent. And I feel very much this is kind of how Garvey must have felt 105 years ago as he called together that first international convention of the Negro peoples of the world in 1920, out of which we got the red, black, and green flag. We got a Declaration of Rights of the Negro peoples of the world, and Garvey himself was elected by 25,000 delegates as the provisional president of Africa. The idea of a convention in the 21st century is something that we can also do, given the technology we have to meet virtually, regardless of where we are in the world. These are technological advances that Garvey did not have. So I want to lend my support to Brother Malik in this effort and ask him to continue and to regularize this and grow it into a convention where all Pan-African organizations can participate regardless of where they are in the world. This is how Garvey brought together the largest plebiscite in 1920. It was not just UNIA divisions who participated. There was the African Blood Brotherhood, amongst others, that did this. And we got to do it in a large way, right? The second thing we can learn from Garvey is the fact that, talk is one thing, writing policy and making speeches in terms of stating our position is great, right? But it takes cash to care, is the saying. And many of our movements are underfunded. Many of us do not have the finances to carry out some of the projections we philosophize about. And so, in 1919, when Garvey started the Black Star Line, it was like a beacon and a lighthouse to Africans everywhere. And it not only galvanized the movement, but it added great momentum. This was a year before the first international convention in 1920. And so it went a long way to grabbing people's attention. I think in the case of Burkina Faso, we have a similar opportunity here to create a sort of Black Star Line. Many of you may know Burkina Faso has been manufacturing electric cars, the Itawo. This has been done by a continental African brother. There's been a lot of talk about it. I think we can focus our energies here in the West and in the diaspora, and at the same time provide not only financial support to Burkina Faso, but maybe even financial support to our different Pan-African groups or to this convention as a whole, if we were to consider bold actions such as creating a distribution network for these vehicles that are produced in Burkina Faso. I want to back up what my sister Olemata Tal said in terms of the role that our artists play, not only in carrying the message, but also as a tool of advertisement and marketing. For decades, they have done so much for other products being produced by other people. How many times we have to hear about Hennessy and Ciroc? In Jamaica, we talk about Clark shoes. They talk about the Lexuses and the Mercedes-Benz and the BMWs. Well, what if they were to speak about the towel? What if we were to broker some kind of agreement where Burkina Faso could provide 1 or 2 or 3 of them with cars on the agreement that they would help to market this through their music and through their message? I believe, 1, it would demonstrate our seriousness to the Burkina Faso nation. It would raise capital that they sorely need in conducting these revolutionary nationalistic moves that they are making. And as distributors here in the West, it would also provide some financing for us as a support group for them. So I want to put that on the table. It's something very serious to think about, right? Another thing is, you know, as Brother Sifiwe say, there is a fear about infiltration. So we certainly cannot run to Burkina Faso and expect to be placed into high government positions and so forth. We have to be strategic in how we provide that support. And the number one way should be through economics and financing, but also through education. One of the things we've been doing as the UNIA in Jamaica for the last decade is focusing a lot on how we curricularize Garveyism so that we can teach it in the early childhood institutions, in the primary schools, in the secondary schools, or what you would call high schools, and at the tertiary level. We've even taught it at a correctionary level in the general penitentiary. Africa as a continent can benefit from that. It is not only we in the diaspora who suffered from colonialism, and in our case from enslavement, but you know, after the abolition of slavery, let's not forget that Europe turned their attention to the colonization of Africa. And as Steve Biko said, the greatest weapon in the hands of the oppressor has always been the minds of the oppressed. Garveyism needs to be taught on the continent of Africa. And I think that is something we can also offer to our brothers and sisters, not only in Burkina Faso, but in the Sahel states and in other parts of Africa who are willing to have us. We have the books, we have the curriculum, we can have them translated into French, into Portuguese, into you know, whatever language we find these colonial tongues on our mother continent. We can use them to our benefit by providing African-centered philosophies in the language that they speak, so that we can begin to reclaim the minds of our people and of our race. Finally, in terms of economics and education, there is also a 56-year-old Pan-African Film Festival that has been conducted in Ouagadougou since 1969. It started just a few years after Festac. Those of you old enough to remember Festac in Senegal, and that was later done in Nigeria, and which has recently been brought back by a Nigerian brother working out of South Africa. But Burkina Faso has had an international festival since 1969. The arts is a major way we can engage with Burkina Faso, engage with the government without them feeling threatened by any possible plans or infiltration. The point that Brother Sifwe brought up is a serious point, because even as a UNIA leader, we know in our own particular history that COINTELPRO started with J. Edgar Hoover's infiltration of the UNIA, and he perfected that program against Marcus Garvey that he later used against Malcolm X, against the Black Panthers and others. So it's a real threat. and one that we should not make light of. And so in terms of engaging in terms of the arts and in terms of financial economic programs, that may be a way to prove ourselves to the government without them having to worry about people infiltrating and getting their hands on government secrets, right? There's a film out. We have done the first narrative film on Marcus Garvey entitled Mosiah. We would love to take it to Ouagadougou. The film festival, if I'm not mistaken, is called, I threw myself off by mentioning Festac. Now I can't get it out of my head. But it's called FestPro or something like that. You can Google it and find out. If you allow me, I can do that real quick too. But it takes place every 2 years, right? FESPACO is what it's called. It takes place every 2 years since Captain Traore's revolution. I don't know if they've missed a year. I saw some news posting saying that they lost 2 venues because of him. Whatever the case is, I think Africans in the diaspora can offer their assistance to replace the French support that used to be provided for this film festival and position ourselves in terms of organizing it, marketing it, and using it as an event and a time and a venue to bring Africans from the diaspora to Burkina Faso to show their support for what's going on there. I'm not talking about full repatriation and moving people over there to live, but certainly I'm talking about creating, as Dr. Mukaram said, a pilot of engagement for the diaspora with Burkina Faso, and everybody can relate to the music, to the arts. This is what we do well in the diaspora. So let's not try to reinvent the wheel. Let's know where our strengths are. We are consumers of some $1.2 trillion or billion each year, the Black consumerism in the West. Let us turn that to supporting Burkina Faso by buying their cars, by marketing their cars. Let's support their film festival and demonstrate to them our seriousness in supporting them financially, spiritually, economically, and then we can grow from there. So to wrap up, regular conventions of Pan-African groups, just as Garvey did in the early 20th century, pilot economic programs focused on the electric motor vehicles that Burkina Faso is producing, and their 50-odd-year-old Pan-African Film Festival that they have been hosting for over half a decade. I know my time is up. I see Dr. Sabri about to wag her finger at me. So one God, one aim, one destiny, my brothers and sisters.
You were a pleasure to listen to, and we need to do everything you said. So thank you so much. And we're going to backtrack a little bit and then go forward. We were trying to bring on Brother Achara, who is in Burkina Faso. He lives in Burkina Faso, and he is our resident manager of our new office there. So we would like for him to say a few words. Do you have a translator with you now? Or
Yes,
no?
yes,
You do?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So are you going to speak in French or?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, you go right ahead. The floor is yours. And then, but before that, I just want to say that I'm going to be skipping around on the agenda, so I hope that everyone can be flexible. I want to make sure that we include everyone who didn't get a chance to speak before at our July 4th broadcast. So after you, I'm going to skip to Ambassador Sheila Silver from Brazil, and then we'll move on to others who didn't speak and rearrange the order a little bit, because we want to make sure that you're not on and then, you know, what happened before that you just didn't get to speak. So thank you for your patience, everyone. All right, so the floor is yours.
OK. Merci à tous. Salutations patriotiques à tous. Avant tout propos, j'aimerais rendre un vibrant hommage à toutes nos forces de défense et de sécurité, ainsi qu'à nos volontaires pour la défense de la patrie, pour leur combat quotidien, pour la cause de la sécurité et de la souveraineté du Burkina Faso et de la Confédération des États du Sahel AES. Alors, Ouattara.
Hi everyone, a greeting to all of you. First, I would like to pay tribute to all our defense and security forces in Burkina Faso, as well our volunteers for the defense of the fatherland, and also for the daily struggle for the cause of security and sovereignty of our country and all the Confederation of Sahel States, which is called IES.
Camarades, peuple patriote du Sahel, d'Afrique et de la diaspora.
Comrade, patriotic people of the Sahel, Africa and diaspora.
Aujourd'hui, l'ère frappe à notre porte et elle ne nous demande pas la permission d'entrer. Elle exige que nous la façonnions nous-mêmes. Depuis des siècles, nos terres, nos sous-sols ont été pillés, nos ressources arrachées, nos cultures méprisées, nos parents et nos grands-parents enchaînés, nos ancêtres dispersés aux quatre vents, les plaies de l'esclavage, de la colonisation et de l'exploitation étrangère saignent encore.
Today, history is knocking at our door and it's not asking for permission. It demands all of us to shape ourselves, because for centuries our lands and our subsoil have been plundered and our resources have also been stripped away. And our culture despised, our parents and grandparents chained, and ancestors cut away to the winds. The wounds of slavery and colonization and foreign exploitation still bleed.
Mais je vous le dis, un peuple qui connaît son histoire et qui se tient debout et uni est un peuple invincible.
But I can tell you this, people who know their story and stand tall and united are an invincible people.
L'ère n'est plus à la mendicité ou aux accusations inutiles auprès de ceux qui ont profité de nos souffrances. L'heure est à la réparation de notre propre force. Oui, nous exigeons réparation, pas comme une faveur, mais comme une dette contractée par l'histoire et payée par le sang et les larmes de nos ancêtres.
Time is not for begging or useless accusations against those who are profited from us, from our suffering. This time is over, but time has come for reparation through our own strength. Yes, we demand reparation, but not a favor, but a debt incurred by history and paid for with the blood and also the tears of our ancestors.
Et nous proclamons l'autodétermination totale, qu'aucune puissance étrangère ne décide de l'avenir du Sahel, qu'aucun conseil venu d'ailleurs ne dicte notre destin. Nous devons produire ce que nous consommons, diriger nos propres institutions, défendre nos frontières avec nos propres bras et faire de notre unité notre plus grande arme.
We proclaim a total self-determination right now. No sovereign power shall decide the future of the Sahel, of Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali. No council from elsewhere shall dictate our destiny, because we must produce what we consume, run our own institutions, and defend our borders with our own arms, and make our unity and our greatness weapons.
Je vous le dis, camarades, peuples patriotes et révolutionnaires du Sahel et de la diaspora, unissons nos mains, nos esprits et nos cœurs. Que le Mali, le Burkina Faso, le Niger et tous les peuples frères marchent ensemble, non pas comme des provinces éparses, mais comme une nation puissante, riche de son identité et maîtresse de son sol.
Fellow patriotic and revolutionary people of the Sahel, let us join hands, minds, and hearts, and let our three countries, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, be brother people and march together, not as castrate people and provinces, but as only one powerful nation, rich with its own identity and master of its subsoil.
Car l'avenir ne nous donne pas. L'avenir ne se donne pas plutôt, il se conquiert. Et si nous ne bâtissons pas aujourd'hui notre liberté économique et politique, demain nos enfants seront encore esclaves.
The future is not given. The future has to be conquered. And if we don't build our economic and political freedom today, don't be astonished that tomorrow our children to still be slaves.
Lèvons-nous, peuple du Sahel, d'Afrique et de la diaspora. Réclamons ce qui nous appartient et gardons-le par la force de notre unité. Car, comme le disait toujours ma voix intérieure, l'Afrique aux Africains et le Sahel au peuple du Sahel.
Let us rise up as a people, as solo people, and as also Sahel and Africa, and let us claim together what belongs to us, and let us keep it by strength and also our unity. For as I used to say, Africa is for Africans, and Sahel is for people of the Sahel.
Vive l'unité panafricaniste et afro-descendante, vive la Confédération des États du Sahel, vive la Confédération des peuples du Sahel, vive le panafricanisme, vive la révolution progressiste populaire, vive le capitaine Ibrahim Traoré, la patrie ou la mort, nous vaincrons.
Long live to the Pan-African United Nation, long live to the people of Sahel, long live to the fighters of Burkina Faso, long live to our force and defenses, and long live to this unity, the homeland of death we shall overcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Tafile just wants to give us a little bit more about your background and who you are, because what you do is very important, and we appreciate you so much. Go ahead, Tafile.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to do justice to my good comrade and brother who I've been able to spend a lot of days with in Burkina Faso. I just want everybody to know that Ouattara is the president of the Patriotic Movement First of Burkina Faso, which is the Patriotic Domestic Organization. But he also serves as the Secretary General for the Director of the Confederation of Peoples of the Alliance of Sahel States. So just as we have the government leaders that have formed the Alliance of Sahel State, there is a people or civil society component of the Alliance of Sahel States. Burkina Faso has over 500 organizations. Niger has over 500 organizations, and Mali has over 500 organizations that are all part of what's called the Confederation of Peoples of the Alliance of Sahel States. Our brother Ouattara serves as the Secretary General. This is an example of the very kind of united front that we are trying to build as the Afro-descendants in the African diaspora. So I just wanted to clarify that so people could understand who Ouattara is, and we are very grateful and honored and lucky to have him be serving as an aide-de-camp to the delegations that have been arriving. He served and helped us, the President Ibrahim Traoré in the West delegation, and also the RBG 126 plus delegation in terms of just getting things done on the ground. And so having him work as part of our staff in the office and our headquarters is very valuable. So I just wanted to do justice to my comrade. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we're going to, again, I'm going to allow Comrade Safiwe to introduce some of the other guests who were not able to speak the last time. But right now, we're going to bring on Ambassador Sheila. She is our ambassador to Brazil. She was actually born in Brazil, and she's currently living in Europe. She has been an active advocate for global reparations and restoration for African people, a cause that's deeply rooted in her heritage and ancestral legacy. So we are happy to bring on Ambassador Sheila, and we apologize for you not speaking before. So I wanted to make sure that you did today. Thank you.
You are welcome. Thank you, everybody, and good afternoon, everybody. So as mentioned, I'm an Afro-descendant born and raised in captivity, a place that the world calls Brazil in South America. From an early age, I understood what it means to live as an Afro-descendant woman in a world that was built against me and against us. No matter where we are, our people are persecuted, we are neglected, we are pushed into an economic, cultural, political, and social apartheid. Like many of you, I spent my life searching for belonging, searching for identity, until I finally came in touch with the Afro-descendant nation. I felt deeply connected to its mission and vision, the ultimate goal of self-determination as a nation. It was when I understood I don't have to feel isolated, I don't have to accept an identity imposed on me by the tormentors of my people, in my case in Brazil. I don't have to define myself through the lens of those who treated my ancestors like a cattle, because justice, equity, and freedom will never be given to us by our oppressors. We collectively must achieve them ourselves. We must reclaim our birthright and create a nation of our own. And that is why we are gathering here today to celebrate Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey is, like most of us here, a man who carried a clear vision for our people in a time where connection beyond the borders of white supremacy was almost impossible. He envisioned a mighty Black race, united and in control of its destiny. Today, as a people, we must continue that work. Do not lie to you all, it's not an easy work. After 400 years of warfare, colonization, and mental slavery, many of our people still hold on to the identities that were forced upon us on the continent of Africa and in the slavery diaspora. Many cannot even imagine that with a clear strategy, relentless work, and the humility to put our egos aside, we can achieve what we want. And the proof of that is that we are still alive. Not only alive, many of us are thriving, even by the very oppressive standards of the colonial rules who built this world against us. In my case, even when ordinary so-called Brazilian tries to tell me who I am, my answer is simple. I share more genetically, historically, and culturally with Afro-descendants across the Americas than with you. With you, I share only a language imposed on me and a territory where my ancestors were forced into. My genuine connection is to the people who look like me. We must build a narrative that reflects our interests and repeat it relentless until it shapes the collective conscience of our people. Because divide and conquer is the strategy our historic enemies have always used against us. And after 400 years, we still fall into this trap. Currently, we stand at a turning point. The very powers that once enslaved and colonized us are now fighting each other to keep dominating us worldwide. We are not just victims, we are survivors, we are builders, and we are the future. Let us honor Marcus Garvey, not just with words, but with action. Let us reclaim our identity. Let us unite. Let us reclaim our destiny. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. We appreciate you so much and everything that you do. So thank you for joining us today. All right, so we're going to keep it moving, and next I'm going to turn it back over to Safiwe, Comrade Safiwe, to tell us, introduce some of the speakers who have been waiting, who did not speak before. So you go ahead, right ahead. The floor is yours.
All right. Thank you, my sister. Thank you. So our next speaker is Dr. Ajabu Fubeya. Now, what I'd like to really say about Dr. Ajabu is that he is both a Garveyite and comes out of the Black Panthers in the Spanish-speaking world. He's a Pan-Africanist that has been doing a lion's share of the work among Pan-Africanists everywhere, but I encountered him through his efforts, especially in the last year, supporting the Alliance for Sahel States and teaching Garveyism in the Spanish-speaking world. Since we're building a united front, it's very important that we make closer and stronger connections to the Pan-Africanists in the Spanish-speaking world. So with that, Dr. Ajabu, I'd like you to come on board and give us your message.
Thank you very much. I don't know if you listen to me fine.
Yes, sir.
I want to express my appreciation to people who organized this event. The brother Safia is in Africa, and the ambassador in Malik Shabazz. He was my comrade a long time with Dr. Kali Mohammed in a Million Youth March, and other people who I respect too much that I meet in this event. Yes, as brother said, I'm Secretary General of the Cuarta Internacional Panafricanista Garveyista Cimarron Rastafari Womanis. This is an organization who work inside the African Spanish-speaking world. We are an organization who was inspired by the most honorable Mosiah Masfu Garvey and African Community Leagues, and two of his wife, Amiyas Garvey, Yami Aswood. We was inspired by these people to build an organization exclusively for Africans who speak Spanish and Portuguese, because we were in Libya with Gaddafi in Tripoli, and we say in Gaddafi that we need an organization who able to build Marcus Garvey in the Spanish-speaking world. Now, after 20 years, 25 years, we are in Colombia, Ecuador, Venezuela, Bolivia, Guinea Equatorial, Argentina, Chile. And last week, we was in the International Congress in Colombia, in Cali, at the Universidad del Valle, where we unite African grassroots organization inspired in the program and action and history and philosophy of Marcus Garvey. We see that this is very important because Marcus Garvey have two chapters in the place where I born in Equatorial Guinea. It was two chapters of the UNI in Equatorial Guinea, and in place like Cuba, Santo Domingo was like 32 chapters, 29 chapters. It was very strong because Marcus Garvey traveled all over Panama, Costa Rica, Ecuador. He went to Brazil, Chile, and he saw Africans oppressed like everywhere. It's a global oppression. So when we started to build this movement, we understand that something like the brother Musaka said. We saw that African elite in the Spanish-speaking world, Latino world, are very colonized. So we build a university, Malcolm Garvey University, We build a TV, Uhuru Africa Television, and we build the network of the African, Pan-African media because we was very, very inspired by the Negro War, the most important newspaper in the history of the African history. So I do some of the speakers said that there is not Malcolm X without Marcus Garvey because Malcolm X's mother, she was working in Canada in this newspaper, and the UNI was able to deal newspaper in English, Spanish, and French. So that is very important. And now we are working in the context to genocide. My sister spoke before me talk about the genocide in Brazil. This genocide was cared about with Lula, with Bolsonaro, in Colombia, with the guerrilla and the state and the mafia. They kill African, about 3,000 African every year. The same thing happened in the 20s when the FBI, Hoover, and the Mafia Italiana, Don Corleone, and the Communist Party, and the African bourgeoisie like William Du Bois attacked and tried to destroy the movement of Marcus Garvey. It was the same process. And what we are concerning now in the context we are with the Sahel revolution, we must know that this process of Sahel is not something now just with Ibrahim Traoré. We started to struggle. I remember I was in Tripoli and 20 years ago when Ibrahim Traoré was in high school. So we tried to go to bring Marcus Garvey ideas in Africa. We didn't have internet in that time. It was like fax, or something like this. But the job we did, when I say we, I say all of the people are in this event. The job, the real success we had was to implement this idea in the young people, in the women. One of these women who I want to thank and congratulate was Sister Winnie Mandela. When we meet with her in Durban conference, Sister Winnie Mandela said, it's time to call the young people back to Marcus Garvey philosophy, because Marcus Garvey philosophy is not just the philosophy on back to Africa, but backward to Africa, back to take power in Africa, to kick it friends from Burkina Faso, from Mali, from Guinea, and all this neocolonialism. So Marcus Garvey started to organize again neocolonialism when the UNI went to Liberia, went to Sierra Leone, went to Guinea Equatorial, went to Kenya, went to Namibia and Nigeria, when all the UNI has people over there. So I'm very, very, very happy in this meeting. I want to tell you back because we are continuous. We are continuous doing what we was doing when they killed Thomas Sankara, when they killed Gaddafi, when they killed Malcolm X, that this year is the centenary of Malcolm X, and Walter Rodney was killed, and when Sister Winnie Mandela, alone, because his husband was sleeping, she became strong against the apartheid, against the neocolonial apartheid in South Africa. When Sister Winnie Mandela said his husband that we cannot private the National Bank of South Africa, this is a crime, because those people they private the National Bank of South Africa. When Sister said that it's not able that South Africa don't have nuclear weapon like Korea has, Israel has, Iran has, English has, French has, everybody has nuclear weapons, but no Africans. Sister Winnie Mandela told his husband that that is not possible. And the other one was the question of the poverty in South Africa. If you go to South Africa, you see people sleeping in the street, people, poverty, African people is, totally poverty. So we must know that in that time we deal with this question. In 1994, when the people went to talk about democracy, we were with Sister Mandela told them that we need ideology, because only powerful Marcus Garvey give people in the world, because giving African ideology, strong ideology. When you go into the African community who speak Spanish or English or French, you see that people have PhD, people have masters, but people don't have ideology. We don't have leadership ideology. We have experts. We don't need more experts. Marcus Garvey didn't have any PhD, didn't went that, any throw, anything like this, but he was clear because the visions come from Maun for the experience of African people. And this is this job we are doing now in the Century 21 with meeting like this, and what's going on in South Africa, in South Africa, in the ICE, in Benin, in Mali, in Burkina Faso, in Cameroon, in Equatorial Guinea, and we see how French people remain in Gabon, put one puppet like Oligi to control the US money in Africa. So thank you very much for invite us, the Pan-African movement, and to speak. I want to thank my brother to invite me from Africa. He introduced me because we are mobilized, and we are radicalized African people who speak Spanish. We are 200 million of African people who speak Spanish, that we must to be part of the solution. The only way to be part of the solution is to follow Marcus Mosiah Garvey philosophy and the grassroots people who will love Marcus Garvey around the world. Uhuru, muchísimas gracias. Saluma Ndachirosu, Abuekiba.
Dr. Abui, don't go so fast. Hold on while we have you here. I have a question for you. So I wasn't able to attend the conference that you organized in support of the Alliance of Sahel States in November, but I did make a submission. And my question, so I know that you have been building support in the Spanish-speaking part of the Pan-African world. My question to you is, on April 30th and May 25th, there were worldwide demonstrations, hands off of President Traore. We saw lots of I saw lots of video clips, but mostly, once again, from the English-speaking world. My question to you is, what was their support in these Spanish-speaking Pan-African communities? Did they come out and demonstrate on April 30th and May 25th in support of Traore?
Yes, definitely. We called in 2023 in Barcelona, we called one conference, international conference, supporting the Sahel revolution. Even when the so-called coup d'etat take place in Niger, and we made demonstration, we called demonstration in front of Africans embassy in Colombia, Venezuela, with drums, with musicians, to give support this question. It is the second conference was in 2004 in Madrid, when we bring about 300 delegates to participate, and it was the conference was coordinated by Brother Ondo Angono. And now we developed a book explaining African people who speak Spanish, what's going on in Africa now. And this book they call Liptako Guruma. And when the date when you say we call demonstration in different African community, the Marcus Garvey University organized event telling people to support Traoré, who was trained by the US, by the French, but others. Even the president of Spain, Pedro Sanchez, went to Senegal to tell the new government of Senegal that you must to be out from these bad Negroes. You must to stay good Negro. You must to good. We will give you money. We will give you some credit money to promote economy in Senegal, in terms to Senegal is still out from this revolution. And then even when the riots took place, oppression took place in Paris, you remember, brother, the young African in Paris, they made oppression 2003. It was maybe 2004, maybe it was in summer. And this riot was connected with what's happening in Africa in that time, because people was telling the ECOWAS that you cannot bomb Niger, you cannot bomb Mali, because we don't want to let that question. So in Colombia, in Cali, in the consulate of the French, and in Brazil, and in Spain, in Portugal, we call demonstration in front of these embassies to tell them that we have not agreed to bomb Niger because the president of the French President said they must to bomb Niger, they must to attack Niger, and they must to make war. So we make all these questions to conscience African people who speak Spanish that the importance of relationship to support what's going on in Africa. And I remember that I spoke with you and others, and the question of the Madrid conference, because we broke Muslim, Christian, we broke all the people, humanists, and many other people, many white people to understand, because white people, the government told them that what's going on in Africa is Russia, is China, is terrorists. So we explained it that what's going on in Africa is not Russia, is not China, is the same African revolution that Marcus Garvey built and Thomas Sankara and others. So I clarify because they are very media in Europe, in Africans speaking Spanish media, the media, they spoke negative about the revolution what's going on in Africa. They call our leadership Ibrahim Traoré dictatorship. They attack, all this process, and the role of what we're doing as Africans speak Spanish is to confront this narrative in all of the struggle, because in this narrative must to be confronted. Yesterday I was in Spanish TV. They invited me to talk, and the journalist asked me why we are glamorize militarization of Africa. I told them that we don't glamorize. It's our people. It's Malcolm X. It's Huey Newton. It's Aldous Cleaver. It's the Black Panther. So is where I'm from. When we founded the Black Panther Party in Spain, it was in 1988 when the skinhead Nazis was killing African people, bombing the church, killing immigrants, Africans, killing. There was the same. The media asks you, why do you retaliate this? Because I'm a human being, I must defend myself, So the same thing happened when the African government, like Ibrahim Traoré and others, defends Africa. The media asks them why they do that. So they must have left that French skills, take all the money of Africans, take all the resources, petrol, coltan, everything is taken. It was taken by French, but now that's finished. So we are learning, the people are learning in Argentina and Peru and Ecuador, they are learning about this reality. So,
and that's definitely thanks to, I know how much work you and your comrade Ondo have been doing. I think it's great that because of President Ibrahim Traoré, you even being on this call with us is going to bring a closer connection between the Pan-Africanists in the English-speaking world and in the Spanish world. Let that be a tribute to Marcus Mosiah Garvey, but also a benefit of this moment that we have around President Traoré. And I will definitely be doing my part to stay connected with you to make sure we're sharing information and platforms with the Pan-Africanists in the Spanish-speaking world. So thank you again, Dr. Aboué, for joining us. I know we need to move on. Sister Khallida, am I able to introduce the next guest?
I'm going to bring you back, Comrade Safiwe. I'm going to bring you back, and we're going to skip to Queen Shanta Lana Hereford, and then I'll come back to you. Is that okay? All right. Let me just get you on the screen. There you are. So let me just do a quick introduction. She is the founder and president of the Center for Truth and Healing. She is the queen of the nation of Chiru, which is an accomplished, she's also accomplished business leader globally, an author, and founder and president of the Center of Truth and Healing. So without further ado, I'll let you go ahead and tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you're doing and what the United Front can do to support you as well. Thank you.
Grand Rising, Shira Ve Shalom, freedom and peace to the host of this revolutionary event in honor of the Honorable Marcus Garvey, the Afro-Descendants.org organization, Dr. Akila, Dr. Tahita, Brother Honorable Safife, I might have messed that up, but Honorable Safife, also Attorney Malik Zulu Shabazz, thank you so much for the invitation. To all our elders present here today, all our liberationists, freedom fighters, the community leaders, nation builders, I greet you in freedom and peace, all guests here present today. My name is Queen Shantae Lene Herford, and I am the matriarchal monarch of the nation of Shira. We are a very new nation, but we are a nation that is a free and independent community, a global community built on a shared purpose and vision. And that vision is revolutionary yet simple, you know, and it is to live well, to live together, to live free, and to live in peace. And our nation is built on 5 foundational pillars, and that is spirituality, self-determination, self-care, sustainability, and solidarity. So I greet you today because we really can't afford to keep talking about Black unity. We are at a crossroads now where we can't continue to keep walking and protesting. We actually have to come with actionable solutions. We must put our differences aside. At this time, we're seeing so much division across the diaspora, and we must stay focused. We must not allow those same tactics from centuries ago to continue to divide us, especially in this season. So we must be strategic, and we've begun creating systems. So I'm here as a representative of the nation of Shira, and Shira is a Hebrew word meaning freedom and liberty. And I inspire this room to take bold, coordinated action that can secure our freedom and our prosperity for years to come. To impress upon you also the urgency of our coordination and collaboration to resist the division and build lasting liberation structures and economic systems. Yes, each country responsible for the enslavement of our ancestors should be held liable to restore the land and free the land back to the original people of this planet. And they should also pay us reparations. But while we fight the fight for reparations, I believe it is also critical that we simultaneously start creating our own economic systems, our own educational systems, our own food security systems, our security forces, and mobilizing and helping to shift the mindsets in our community, especially starting with our youth and pouring into our youth. So I agree with many of the speakers here today, and I'm going to follow the directions I was given in the email so that I stay on track and follow the outline. But I want to talk about the work that the nation of Shira has been doing since January of this year, when we began organizing and pooling our resources together to build this shared community that we envision. So we began to form our ministerial cabinet in January. Since then, we've hosted a series of strategic meetings and gatherings to start laying the strong foundation for our nation. And one of those key milestones have been leadership retreat. I heard Brother Safife say earlier about the bad leadership, the mismanagement of funds. So we've been sure to make sure that the leaders in our community are a representation of us in a very integral way by leading by example. So we've started with the leadership training and development training to shift the mindsets of our leaders and prepare them for their responsibilities in nation building. We've also begun building the framework for our core systems, in the nation of Shira. And those systems are education, healthcare, job skills training, and agriculture. When we talk about agriculture, we've developed Shira farms, and we started with just 10 little chickens, and now we are still growing. We've started accumulating acreages to use for sustainable farming and urban gardens. We've launched with alliances with the Black Achievement Fund and also CMMT through our partnership and membership of the African Diaspora Collective. And we've been helping to build a global Black supply chain by launching 1 hectare sustainable farms across the diaspora, starting in Ghana and now Nigeria. And our Minister of Agriculture and our Minister of Tourism are on the ground there in Kenya. For job skills training, we've developed the Shira Career Training Center, and we partnered with the Trinity Bay Vocational Institute to establish a vocational institute here in Atlanta. They already have campuses in Houston, Texas, and also in Louisiana. We are now working on campuses in Cameroon and Zimbabwe. We're undergoing the accreditation process here in Georgia so that we can begin offering industry recognized vocational training to our people so they can build our homes, do the electrical, do the plumbing and other skills that are going to be needed. When we talk about education, we're currently in our early stages of designing a world-class pre-K through 12 curriculum specifically designed for melanated youth, alongside free digital online education for young people throughout the diaspora. We talk about healthcare. We have the Shira Clinic of Care, where we're forging partnerships with licensed professionals and holistic healthcare professionals to launch a universal healthcare model, not just for our members, but for also the communities that we're serving, that we're based in. Our ecosystem, we're building our ecosystem on education and enterprise. This is what fuels self-sufficiency, wealth creation, and sovereignty. We are also developing assets in media, music, and entertainment to expand our cultural influence. I heard the sister speak about how important that is. So we're going beyond the rhetoric of talking and actually putting in actionable steps to make sure these systems come to realization, because we realize that time is running out. When we talk about the global and local engagement, we've been deepening relationships with traditional rulers, heads of state, and Pan-African organizations such as yourselves to open doors for trade, agriculture, infrastructure, and cultural diplomacy. We've already launched a youth digital literacy program in Nigeria, where we're training youth 7 to 15 years old every weekend on how to use the digital platforms. We're in the middle of launching an environmental protection program that's going to reduce e-waste, provide skills training, and provide refurbished digital devices to low-income individuals by partnering with local counties and communities for e-waste collection days. You know, these are just small acts, but they will make a huge impact. And if we can duplicate these efforts across our communities, and I'm sure there are programs that you all have, I've heard a lot of them that are very interesting, and I think that would be beneficial to scale across our communities as well. So that's why I think that this call is so important, so critical, so necessary at this time. We're also collaborating with the Black Achievement Fund to develop New Kemet. New Kemet is a Black-owned community in Toonsboro, Georgia. A couple of years ago, you heard about the 19 families that bought the town in Georgia. Well, Brother Arkeet Hodges is the president, and he's spearheading that initiative now. And he's begun building. We broke ground a few weeks ago here in Georgia, and they are building the first 2 homes in our community. So we are putting our money where our mouth is. We're putting our action steps in place. And in just months, Shira has moved from vision to action. We're building systems, forging the partnerships, and creating tangible pathways for sovereignty, from local community aid to international trade routes. We are laying the foundation for a self-sustaining nation that can feed itself, educate itself, employ themselves, and care for its people at home and across the diaspora. Also, we have a land bank registry for our members that we've launched, an internal land bank registry, so we can document and assess the land already owned by our members. This inventory will allow us to strategically evaluate which areas can be developed for housing, for business, cultural spaces, and which can be used for gardening, farming, and agriculture production. And by understanding these resources already in our collective hands, we can move faster toward the self-sufficiency and the coordinated land use. I also would love to explore the collective land trust. I've heard that mentioned. And definitely interested in that. But we've also last year hosted the Birth of a New Nation Summit at the 124th National Black Business Conference. And that's coming up next week here in Atlanta. Again, the quincentennial celebration, the 125th National Black Business Conference is next week. And we have a delegation visiting from Guinea who would also like to get more engaged with the diaspora. And we'll be taking a trip over there in October. But we birthed INOSA last year at the Birth of a New Nation Global Peace Summit, and INOSA stands for Indigenous Nations of Sovereignty Alliance. We are advancing the INOSA recommendation as a vision for a United Nations of melanated indigenous nations. So this alliance will unite sovereign and self-determined communities across the globe, serving as a diplomatic, cultural, and economic body for indigenous, African, and diaspora nations. And through INOSA, we aim to establish trade agreements, cultural exchange programs, conflict resolution mechanisms, and joint policy advocacy, ensuring that all of our voices are heard and respected on the global stage. And I'll finish up by saying that we are building something that cannot be built and done in isolation. Our work thrives when it's connected to the strength, the wisdom, and the resources of all our movements. And this is how the United Front can stand with us and help to strengthen our efforts. One, we love to co-create solutions in our 4 core systems: the education, the healthcare, job skills training, and agriculture systems that are scalable across communities, providing technical expertise, policy support, and co-investment to strengthen these systems and make them models for self-determination. We are asking for support for the School of Shira. We are looking to connect with educators, curriculum developers, scholars to help design this world-class pre-K-12 curriculum, or if you already have a curriculum, we're open to exploring that as well. But we want to expand free digital education platform across the diaspora so that no matter where they are, they will be able to access a world-class education. Expand the global Black supply chain, partner with us to identify and link the farmers, the gardeners, producers, and distributors, link into a unified agriculture and trade network, and invest in these 1 hectare sustainable farm systems, collaborate on land sovereignty, build diplomatic and trade pathways, and invest in our ecosystem, such as the education and enterprise model that was explained earlier. And that education and enterprise model develops an ecosystem so that the top supports the bottom and the bottom supports the top. Standing with us means standing for sovereignty, sustainability, and solidarity. Together, we can create systems that feed our people, educate our children, employ our communities, and protect our land across every border. Our partnerships range from local. I know one of the other questions was, who are our current alliances at our collaborative work? We've cultivated a broad network of alliances spanning from business organizations, international partners, indigenous networks, and grassroots movements. These relationships have connected us to a lot of economic power, cultural exchange, and global advocacy. Our partnerships range allowing us to move resources, knowledge, and opportunities across the borders. And these multi-level collaborations strengthen every core system that we're building. So just a few of the names are the African Diaspora Collective, the Atlanta Black Chambers, the Black Achievement Fund, the Brantley Foundation, the National Alliance for Black Business, the Ishola Empire, the Hug Diaspora, the DCAP Community Resource Network, Teens on Point, and the REVS African Youth and Children's Development Foundation. These alliances are not just relationships, they are strategic bridges that allow us to share resources, build our capacity, and coordinate action across the movements. The next steps for the collective, we love to launch INOSA, or a model similar to that, to establish a united global alliance of melanated and indigenous nations to strengthen diplomatic ties, unite around a shared liberation agenda, identify 2 to 3 priority goals that we can all commit to achieving together within the next 12 months so that we have some tangible victories that prove the power of our collective action. Continue building or connect the global Black supply chain. And lastly, launch collaborative initiatives such as developing joint projects in food sovereignty, education, and vocational training. And that is it. I just want to thank you for the time. I know that we are short on time, so I'm going to cut it short. But those were the main points that I wanted to share with you all today. And I thank you for this platform. It is so needed at this time. And I'm hoping that we can go from rhetoric and really use this time to come together and implement and execute these ideas and solutions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Freedom and peace.
Yes, ma'am. Now, I just want to thank you for that very thorough and action-packed report. Yours was truly a report, and I'm glad that we are transcribing this so that we can go back and collectively look at what we can do as a united front to support all the many things that you're doing as well. So thank you so much for your presentation, and we appreciate you so much. Moving on, I'm going to go back to Comrade Safiwe, and I'm going to ask that you introduce one more of the guests that are on your invitee list, and then I'm going to go back and we're going to ask that Mr. Philip Springer go after your next guest. Okay, thank you.
All right, actually, first, I have two guests.
Okay.
I'm going to do those two guests, and then we go to Springer because one of the guests is going to have to leave. The first guest, first I want to say that one of the strongest, if not the strongest forces in Pan-Africanism the last century is the Rastafari movement. And the cry of the Rastafari movement has always been repatriation, organized, centralized. And at the same time that the African Union started, and they invited the diaspora to participate, I went within the Rasta community to inform them of everything that was going on. And at that time in 2003, the Rasta community was hosting its global reasoning, which brought all the houses and mansions together to come up with its agenda. The secretary for the global reasoning was my brother and comrade, Junior Negus. And we started working together at that time. And when it comes to building the united front with all the Rastas, and then engaging with the Pan-African world, there are always those people behind the scenes. They're not necessarily the big faces or the celebrities, but the ones doing the work. And this brother, my comrade, my brother, Ras Junior Negus, is that person. So Junior Negus, please open your mic and your video and address us.
Yes, my king, Sifway, give thanks, and to all the panelists, warm welcome and giving thanks to the occasion of the great leader, Brother Abraham Choi. Yeah, we give up our respect. And the occasion is the anniversary of our ancestor, like starting with Malik. He was also born on the 17th of August. And Brother Malik was the first. Of course, we're talking the root of the Rastafari. Brother Malik, he did execute the first Pan-African gathering in 1900. So we're in focus. And of course, the great Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, his day. These are the days that we're honoring. And even amongst the Rastafari nation, we have what is our crown prince, you see, which is the one seated as the successor for the great His Majesty Haile Selassie, one of the father of African unity. Well, it's his grandson that is the crown prince in Ethiopia. It's also his Earthstrong tomorrow. So we bless the occasion, and we're still here giving thanks again. But what I'm about to do here is just to give a briefing on some of the institutions that have been implemented towards the liberation of our people over the years. So I'll begin with those within the Rastafari community. I here stand to represent the Dark Foundation, which is the Diaspora African Rastafari Congress. This is based in America. We actually have treaty signed by major organization within the Rasta community. So it's quite legitimate, Mary, and we want to give an awareness and an applause to our president, Jabi, Dr. Jabi. Yeah. So standing from the diaspora and speaking for the Rasta community and the diaspora, we can say that our mandate is coming from one of the major conference, which was in 1983, which led to certain resolutions to be put in place, which the first one was a secretariat to be put in place to deal with repatriation. You see, so that led up to the global reasoning that my honorable comrades spoke of, where we met in the global reasoning. You see, that is one of the momentum accomplishment where all the family of Rasta did come together and to structure a collective way forward. So in and around the community, you know that the vanguards of our community is the elders. So foremost, I am also the secretary of what is termed as the Asian Council of the Rastafari. That means I'm guided by the elders in all my administration. So we did structure 2007, what is called the EDIMAC, the Ethiopia Africa Diaspora Union Millennium Council. We structured that as a vehicle to integrate with the AU, and it's still functioning. So, you know, and further, we structure what is termed as the indigenous president, Brother Miguel Collins, which is also in charge of the repatriation, one of his movement from 2010 to visit with Brother Mugabe, who was given land, and I made an effort to make that unity, you see. And then most recently, we've migrated now to Azania, where we know we have the majority of races, and we've managed to structure here now what is called the Rastafari Nation Council, which is a nation secretariat. So these institution is to bring about awareness so that whatever I and I doing as a family, we can make the family aware. Now, other institutions within the Black format of our community, even from that time, Wadu, I'm sure King Sifway is aware, Wadu with our elder Dudley Thompson and Brother Jeffrey. You see, that was another effort to unify our struggle to unify with Africa. But most of all, there is now what is called the Maroons in Jamaica. These are the sovereign people in Jamaica that has defeated the British Army for over 90 years. that they were seen worthy for the British Empire to sign a treaty with. Now, through that treaty, we have managed to establish a currency, which is also adopted as the African currency. It's called the Lumi. You see, it's in the making, still to be fully recognized as one of the resource that is to strengthen our move forward, you see. So then we have what is called the Pan-African Federalist Movement. I was active as the secretary in that, for the Caribbean, in that institution, which is still very much in the forefront. It speaks of the United States of Africa, but at the same time, we establish also the United Kingdom of Africa, you see, which is the unification of the kings, connecting with the Embo Kingdom, you see, and various kingdoms. We also have on the ground an organization that is called Padissalam. This is an organization of African people from right across the different regions and countries in South Africa. So, and this is a very large organizing of Black people in general who will be the government in this industrial revolution that you see is taking place even through the different currencies. Also, we have what is called now the Ilanga Global Royal Kingdom Heritage, the Ilanga Global Royal Kingdom Heritage. I am the international relation officer there, and that is a function of the unification of the kings here in the southern region. So connecting to that, I'm also one of the vice president of the EWF International Charter, coming to the Africa Round Table. Yeah, so the objective is to unify all these different dimensions so that we can, because communication and information among different organizations to chart the way forward, you know. And we know the mission, if it entails a reparation, which is to repair the damage. We see where the repairing of the damage that we seek the attention of the United Front is to see to it that the kingdoms, even our brother down there in Burkina Faso, the sovereign stance that we have to take within the United Kingdom of Africa is to validate our sovereign stance as the kings. So if there is a reparation, that there was a reparation official gathering in 2001 in Durban, South Africa, which acknowledged that reparation is quite an option and a possibility to repair the damage. So if we have to utilize that avenue as well, then what we need to repair is to see to it that our way of governance in Africa is returned to the kings, you see. And as a second aspect of that repair, we would like all the people who were forcefully removed, the human resources that was forcefully removed from Africa to go and build the West. We need them to return to build their own place. We see CARICOM has taken up this initiative until they realize that they should unify with the AU, and the AU might be delaying. So we're looking forward to a new dispensation on this revolution here that we about to engage and is engaging, where I've heard our brother spoke of the Afro descendant and the Afro government in Africa, where we'll commanding the AU to come to order, you see, and all the organizations and different presidents, they must come to order now, because the order of the day is the liberation, as our comrade said earlier, that we're late, you see. And the fact that as the Rasta community representative, we would like to bring forward the culture, because you see, our culture is connected to the foundation, and to sieve out the different possibility of infiltration, then we have to look into our culture and how we empower and educate and bring about a culture of the righteous government and the righteous one. So we would like to see to it that the culture that we uphold is the African culture, you see. And Rastafari is one of those African culture, you see. So this will also let us be aware of the different spiritual entities that come amongst I&I movement, so we can sieve out if there is any infiltration on a spiritual level. Yeah, so the United Kingdom of Africa is what we would like to recommend, as the United States would really emphasize on presidents. We know we need the presidents, but at this moment, we want to empower the kingdom. So we're asking the focus, let's liberate under that sovereign entity of the United Kingdom of Africa in a sovereign way, because we do have a registration. It's registered as an IGO, and it does have a constitution already in place. So these are the elements that I will liaison with the leading factor of the African descendant to make our liberation fruitful. Give thanks, bless each and every one. Rastafari.
Thank you so much, Ras Jr. Negus, and we look forward to the Rastafari contribution to support Burkina Faso and Friends of President Ibrahim Traore in the West. I need to now, our next guest, he's so important. He has many interviews that he has to do, but he is a true Pan-Africanist. And the first time I heard him speak, the first two words out of his mouth were Ubuntu and Pan-Africanism. I will let him give a brief introduction to himself and what he's been doing lately, but I'd like to bring my comrade, Brother Nyaka, to come on and bless us and grace us on this Marcus Garvey Earth Strong Eve. Brother Nyaka.
Hello.
Hello. But
Yes,
before you
greetings.
get started, greetings. I just want to jump in and say we have about 20 minutes left before our end time. And so we have about several speakers that still need to speak. So I'm just going to ask if you can keep it to 5 minutes. If every speaker can keep it to 5 minutes, then maybe we won't go too far over our 4-hour time frame. So after you, I just want to bring on Mr. Springer. You will be up next, and then after that will be Imam Akbar. So thank you for everyone for your patience. Go ahead, the floor is yours.
Yes, because of the connection issue. How many minutes are you giving me?
5 minutes.
I will be done before that.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Yes, I will done. So, yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Taida Sabri. That's your name.
Yes.
And yeah, so and thanks to to my friend, Dr. CPU, Dr. CPU, even though he does not have a PhD, he has knowledge more than many people who are PhDs and then who are on the wrong side of history. And then also thanks to Malik, Shabazz, because these are the three names I recognize in the effort that you guys are putting together to bring together